Give me like a couple moments to set everything up. Looks we got some good action in our Discord last night, so I want to go over that. I want to play some Farm Break. Let me switch to our environment right here. Just going to announce that we're live on the chat. We're going to be streaming this morning from 9 a.m. to 12, although normally I stream 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we have a special stream on Monday where we go down a list of indie mobile games and we all play them together and promote each other. And also on Monday we're going to be doing this special stream where we give out someone $20 if they win this tournament for a game we're going to be playing. And I'm excited for that. But also tonight I want to do a stream from 9 till midnight. So I want to see like what kind of traction we can get there. Just curious, you know, like if people on that side of the world, if that are awake at that time, if there's like a way we can tap into that audience as well. Because I know there's some people in our community that can't watch the stream during the regular hours, so I just wanted to give that a shot. Then stream late Friday night, 9 p.m. to midnight PST. Twitch TV Emoji Podcast. This is the earliest I've streamed so far. So let's see what they were talking about. So yesterday I mentioned to Zendra in the chat about Jason Rohrer's talk on the Indiepocalypse 2014 versus 2018. It's a great video. I recommend all indie developers watch this. We reacted to it live last week. So Zendra wanted to share their thoughts on it. Honestly, my thoughts are pretty much just yes. Something playing audio in here? Let me make sure I can hear the stream. I want to make sure there's no lag. Because I want to be able to talk with people on Discord, so I'm trying to do some things to eliminate the lag that was there before. I'm pretty sure I've fixed the problem. Let me pull it up. This is me talking right now. Oh, hey, what's up, Sakran on YouTube? There's still a delay. It's like a 10-second delay. Okay, so that didn't fix the problem. We'll try something else later on. Good to know. I'm pulling up Sakran in the chat so I can keep an eye on feedback there. I saw I missed someone asking about my game and stuff yesterday, so I'll make sure I keep an eye on the YouTube chat today. And I'm also going to pull up the Twitter chat. Thank you to Tibisoft if you're in the chat for retweeting me. That's very helpful. So I see 5 viewers on Twitter right now. What's up, y'all? Let me open it up so I can see if you're chatting. I'd like to stream to Twitter too, because like some people they're on like Twitch and YouTube, and so maybe just scrolling through Twitter they'll discover me. You know. Let me open the chat now. I can see it. Let me know if you're in the Twitter chat. Say what's up. Sakran typed in some kind of weird math problem, it looks like. What's up, Sakran? So I wanted to play a farm break at the beginning. Oh yeah, we were looking over what people said in the community. Zendra says, this guy seems like he really put in the work to understand why his products had the results they did and analyzed his own performance and adjusted development style because of it. Totally agree with that. And so if you haven't seen this talk, I really recommend it. I'm going to be uploading a video that's like a shortened version of it, of us reacting to it as well, so that might be interesting to watch. I'll try to upload that really soon. He's really taking it seriously. I think we need more indie devs who are willing to bend to the requirements of what it takes to get your games made, rather than just expecting to magically get there somehow. And then that would mean we get more people like him to get interesting analysis from, and we all learn how to make games even better in the future. Hell yeah. Where's like the rock and roll symbol? Is that not what it's called? I gotta scroll through the emojis to find the one I'm looking for. Here it is. That's love. That's not the one. Metal. Oh, thanks for that YouTube link. That's explaining I'm not at 14th game yet. LOL. It's because in the talk he mentions how this is like his 14th game. He's been like 18 games or whatever it was. So I'm gonna say someday. Okay, let's go to game development. So they were talking about Zendra's game here. Cool, we got a lot of activity here. And so join our Discord. The link is in our Twitter. It's also listed in Twitch, I'm pretty sure. This is the game we're playing. It's a strategic rock paper scissors game. It's really fun, really experimental. I really like it. Hi Dylan, what's up, Tuasoft? Thanks for sharing my link on Twitter. I really appreciate it. I just got your message on Discord. I'll respond to it afterwards. Feel free to share anything you're thinking about with game design, or you're working on your own game or whatever. I'm doing this early morning stream because I have an appointment in the afternoon, so I'm streaming today 9 a.m. to 12. Even though normally it's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But I'm also doing a late night stream, 9 p.m. to midnight later on, just to see if I get any viewers at that time. I was just curious. One thing I'm really liking about this system is you can pull yourself out of seemingly unwinnable situations. In most RPGs, you look at this, basically it would be guaranteed loss. I was able to win this fight. Tiposoft says, late afternoon here. Cool, makes sense. It's weird. It's weird streaming to, like, globally, because, like, I feel like I have an even distribution of people in, like, across the United States, a couple people in Europe, you know, people in Korea and Australia, so I feel like everyone's on different time zones, so it's like impossible to figure out like what time I should stream so far, you know, like I don't really know. Some people are saying I should stream later, some people like that I stream early, so I'm just doing what's best for me at this point. Tiposoft, I believe, is the developer of Shootermate 86, which is on the Google Play Store. In most RPGs, you should do 0 to 24. That's what they were telling me yesterday. It's not possible. I could probably do that for like 24 hours, but then I would need another 24 hours in recovery. I don't have the technology to clone myself yet. I've been trying to. When I was in school, sometimes I would like hold my breath and like shake and push, and I would like make a joke that I was trying to clone myself, and people really were amused by that. I'm not gonna do it now because it kind of hurts my head, but random story. Anyway, I like what Zendra is saying in this Discord about how in their game there's seemingly unwinnable situations, and you can pull yourself back because of the zombie mechanic. Like you can zombify your allies. Tiposoft says, no, seriously, I think you put too much time. I think you put too much time for that. I really hope it helps you to grow your audience. Thank you so much. I think you put too much time for that. Are you saying that I'm streaming too much? You think, or because I'm totally open to feedback on that for stream. Yeah, I really hope it works too. Yesterday I was really encouraged because in the morning we had like 10 people in the chat, and I never get that many people except for Mondays when we do our big community stream. So just seeing an influx of people, like that's enough motivation to keep me going for a certain number of more weeks, of everyday streaming, So that was really encouraging, keeps me going for sure. Tipsoft says, from your point of view, it's a big effort. I agree to an extent, but honestly, Tipasoft, it just makes sense for me to do this because I just need to get more organized and structure my time on the stream better. Tipasoft says, for us, it's just optional to be here or not. True. That's funny. That's true. It's honestly like, it just works out because if I stream, on the stream, I can code my game, work on my game, and I get awesome feedback from y'all, and like, I've had people like y'all send me screenshots of bugs, so I get these like people who are supporting me like by testing my game, and people like Madman and others have given me really great suggestions that have shaped the future of my game. So that's another thing to get out of the stream. I also get all this exposure, and we build this community of indie mobile devs that can help each other out. That's another great thing for all of us. And then also I can promote my game and promote other people's games, and then also I get content which I can chop up and I want to start putting onto YouTube. So for me, streaming only makes sense because I get to do like 5 things at once that are all good for my game, like to some degree, So that's kind of why I've decided that it's worth the investment, and that's why I'm no longer just streaming in the mornings. I'm going to stream 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Today's a little weird, but that's what I want to do most of the time. So I'm extending my hours because I'm like, I might as well spend more time working on the community. I get to work on the game in front of people, so it's just like I feel like I'm like doing 5 things at once. So it feels super productive to me. But I super appreciate you coming in. Feel free to share anything, like any games you want at any point, or we've talked about how Shooter Mate 86, like I think you said later in October, might be ready for one of our big Monday streams. I'm really excited for that. I've amped up the memory that my Google emulator has so I can actually play those games smoothly, The first time I played it, it was like really laggy just because my emulator wasn't like set up properly. And I can even eat breakfast at the same time. Have you changed the BlueStack setting? So, in my computer's BIOS settings, the firmware or whatever you call it, I had Intel virtualization disabled, and so by enabling it, it somehow directs more memory towards this emulator or something. By the way, enjoy your breakfast. Thank you. It is granola, which I love. I also have bottle of cranberry juice. I was drinking this long before it was popular, by the way. Out of the bottle as well. So I really feel like that skateboarder guy, really stole my vibe. I'm kind of upset about that. And now everyone's doing it. It was never cool when I did it. So just responding to some of the stuff people are talking about in the Discord. Again, on Monday we're doing this tournament, and the winner's gonna win $20. So that's gonna be really fun. We always do our special Monday stream and play test each other's games and stuff. I think it's gonna be an awesome one. That's usually when we get the most traffic and stuff as well. See, this was an example of Man kind of mocking up some stuff for me while I was working on the game. So this community is awesome. You know, they help me out so much. Like these bugs, other people were sending me bugs as well separately in the DMs. Just want to make sure no recent posts in the Facebook group. We're up to 145 members. We're slowly approaching 200. And we got 32 in the Discord, which is awesome. This is all new, so that's cool. This is Tibasoft. Oh, this is a crazy game. It's like an MMORPG for mobile. I really want to check this out. Cool, we're all caught up to date. I wanted to play a little bit of Farm Break while I'm finishing my breakfast. But anyone feel free to suggest anything. I've been really enjoying coding. What's up, Dev Yeti? Thanks for joining us again. Great to have you back. I was just going through the Discord and our community. Today I'm streaming till noon, but then I have an appointment in the afternoon. So that's why I started a little earlier today. But then I'm going to be streaming 9 p.m. till midnight Pacific Standard Time, because I want to see, I think there's people on the other half of the world that can't see the morning stream, so I just want to see how many people I get to join us in the evening stream, so I just thought I'd do that once. But then we're back to a regular schedule of 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, starting Monday through Friday. I wanted to play Farm Break while I was eating. I feel like the chat isn't working. That's weird. Usually it should be showing on the screen. I'll have to take a look at that. Oh, there it is. Oh, you unlocked a skin, says Dev Yeti. I unlocked the first one, but I keep using my coins to continue, because you can either use coins to buy a skin or to keep continuing without watching ads, without losing progress. So I've been doing that, so I haven't had enough coins to do the skins, but I should try to save my coins more, but I just haven't been. I'd really like I think I want the Hell Piggo. That would be cool. I have the War Piggo, so at least I have something to show off. Oh, I feel like I'm getting more risky now. Oh god. Okay. Oh, frick! It's kind of hard playing with the mouse because sometimes the mouse kind of messes up. I've been really enjoying like I was saying to Tibasoft, it's been awesome because I can code while streaming, while promoting the game, while developing relationships with other indie mobile devs. It's so much. Dev Yeti says the level design is really cool. Yeah, have you played this game? Have you how far are you into this game, Dev Yeti? I agree. The level design is amazing. I'm coming from level design. Nope, I'll try it. Cool. It's called Farm Break, and it's on Google Play. And yeah, it is incredible, the level design. So that's how I got into the industry. My first job in the industry was as a level designer. Who did that in our community? So in our Facebook community, Vinicius is a member of Studio 85, and they are the person in our community that made the game. One of them. I am level 6 as Tibasoft. Cool. I played the first 9 levels, just the first stream. Just tried it once. Gotcha. I really recommend keep playing it because it's super fun. Like they keep adding new obstacles, and every level I feel like I'm learning something. And to me, that's what I look for in puzzle games, in the ones I design and play. I feel like every level should be teaching the player something, even if it's just a subtle thing or an overt like new obstacle. Even in games like Toon Blast and Candy Crush, you'll notice that every level in the good ones they teach you something new each time, even for especially for beginner players. Tipsoft says, but really like that still. It is still on my phone. Cool, cool. As I said before, I love how it balances. Chance and skill. It's a puzzle game, but has all these like Twitch kind of timing elements. So I really love that balance of chance and skill. That's another thing I'm always evaluating gameplay systems through. What's the balance of chance and skill, and how do they execute on that? Dev Yeti says, so how are we going to recruit no-dev people in our community? Dev Yeti, great question. That is one of the most important questions. I'm so glad you asked that. Do you have any ideas? Because I would love to know. I do not have the answer. Have some ideas, I guess. WJ just says I chat a lot, but I don't. He. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming to the to the stream. I really appreciate this. So one thing we're doing is on Monday, as I said, we're someone from our community made a strategic multiplayer rock paper scissors game, and they have the ability to play like tournaments. So we all log into the game together, and we can play a tournament together. So on Monday, we're going to be doing our first promotion. We're going to start off the prize at $20. So we're all going to play on Monday, and whoever wins the game gets $20 through PayPal or whatever form like that. And so that's one way, like maybe there's games that we can kind of offer cash incentives and other things, and then maybe people in the general population on Twitter or whatever, maybe they see like, oh, you can win some money by participating in the stream. So we can run maybe promos like that. That's something we're starting to look into. And then eventually we can offer $100 or stuff like that. Once we get more people playing it. Tipsoft says, yeah, that was my question yesterday in other form. How do we reach casual gamers without ads? I totally agree. I'm so glad that you guys have the right mindset if you're asking those questions. So I really think that's awesome you're asking those questions. If you have any more ideas, please let me know. So I mentioned like we could do these kind of promotional things where on certain streams we do a cash prize tournament thing. Maybe we'll see if that works out. Maybe it will work. Maybe it won't work. I'm here to learn how to stuff. So yeah, in terms of getting players to play our individual games. So I remember us talking about that Tipsoft actually. So I mentioned in my game Emoji Pop. Let me find that. Where is Emoji Pop? Did I close it? No, I didn't close it. Where is it? One sec. Let me find it. Aha. So in my game Emoji Pop, I know I already told you this Tipsoft, but I mentioned like I have a feature that allows people to create levels and then share them directly to Twitter or Facebook. So I think one way that we get people to play our game is through viral features. It doesn't have to be create your own level or whatever, but I think one way indie developers can get casual audiences without paying for thousands of dollars of ads or whatever, or working with the publisher, is by thinking about virality from the very beginning as we design the game. So often I see some indie devs pursue virality late in the game. So in Merge RPG, for example, that's a game that we played on the stream from our community. They have the ability to share your hero onto Facebook or Twitter. I think that's a great idea, and it's good that they're like showing the incentive to look into virality. That's a great start, but that's an example of tacking on virality afterwards. We need to be thinking about virality from the very beginning. As we think about the gameplay and the progression and monetization, we also need to be thinking about virality. So we designed the game with virality in mind so that we have features that are core to the game that can spread. And so my game is all about creating crazy features and adding them to the game and allowing people to create levels with them, cool ass levels, and share them on social media and encourage the spread of the game like that organically. So I think that's like, to me, that's like my best theory as to how we get people to play our games, is to think about virality from day one. Davidi says, actually, we could all put the Discord link of the community in our game, create channel for each different game's community, and then all the communities can benefit. Let me read this again. I think you're onto something here. We could all put the Discord link of the community in our game, create channel for each different game's community. That's an interesting idea. Interesting idea. And then all the communities can benefit from the community being bridged together. I think that's a really good idea. I would wonder if there's some devs that would not want to, because like I know a lot of devs have their own Discord community. I'm assuming some of them wouldn't want to give that up and to promote. I don't know, but I think that's a really great idea. I think we should run that by some people. I'm curious what you think about that, Tibasoft. Like, if we got a bunch, like, cause yeah, like we're all in the same place, and like this stream is dedicated to like not just my game, you know, like it's all about playing everyone else's games, you know, and then learning game design and doing that stuff as a whole. So like, the idea that we can, cause then we can have this stream be like the kind of meetup for everybody, and the Discord can be like the forum for everyone. So like, yeah, we each have our own channel, and within the same Discord, but then we have this like general kind of channels where we all like share the games and give each other feedback, etc. Like from the different games. Davide says, and then we recruit Mattman as game publisher from our Discord, and then Mattman's our publisher. That's not a bad idea. I'm sure Mattman would be on board. That's not a bad idea at all. Like, this is the kind of out of the box kind of thinking that I want to consider. So when I design games, my whole philosophy is, in designing a game, the way I do it is think of every possibility. So I wanted to make a bubble shooter, for example. For certain reasons, I felt like I can make a bubble shooter better than the way the mainstream developers were doing it. So to make this bubble shooter, I thought of a million ways to make a bubble shooter, and I didn't even think of all of them. Obviously, you know, it's like an infinite possibility space. But the way I design games is think of every possibility. You know, so when you're designing a new element, what's every possible way you could design the element, and then you pick the best one. And so when designing the game, you think of every feature. What's every way I could design each feature, and then you pick the best combination of them. And so it's the same thing when making decisions about this community and how we get our games to spread more. Let's think of every possibility. So like these kind of brainstorming sessions are important, and then weigh them against each other. And I think the idea of having a community Discord is really interesting. Tibasoft says we should collect the game links somewhere. You're right. I need to do a better job of like when I stream, or maybe having some like place, where all the games that we're currently playing or that are active in our community, we could like have them all somewhere. Deveti says pinned in each community channel or something. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So just to make sure I have this right, this is the Emoji Pop Discord. So you're saying like I have an Emoji Pop channel, but there's also the stream channel, the video games, general chat kind of channels. So you're kind of saying like, just to make sure I got this right, you're saying that like each game should have its own different channel. Would that, you think that would like make people confused when they join the Discord? Like, that's my only concern, but I'm curious if I'm wrong about that. Like, Davide says, I don't know if there's a limit on Discord. That's another point. Let's look it up. If there's a limit, I feel like it'd be pretty high, just to be flexible. There's no limit for voice channels. There's a 500 channel limit, so that's probably okay for us for now. And this was 6 months ago. Davide says, well, people are used about complicated Discord where you need to reach a channel and add a reaction to earn rights, right? I've seen other channels do that where like you join and then it takes you to a page where it says like react to this if you want this, react to this if you want this. So are you saying like we could do that for each game in our Discord, kind of like each one has its own emoji and you like pick the ones you want to follow, kind of, and then everyone follows the general like just the general stream and discussion kind of channels. I'm thinking I think that might be a good idea, and let me know if I'm like misunderstanding what you're saying. And you're kind of saying like people are used to that complicated stuff anyway, so maybe it's okay. I think that's what I'm interpreting from your response there. Just want to make sure I got you understood correctly. That's really interesting. No, I'm saying people are used to join Discord with difficult organization. Okay, cool. Makes sense. Yeah. I'm totally open to that. So I don't think we're going to be afraid of them with. So I don't think we're going to like afraid them with like 10 channels. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Something we'll have to figure out as we do this is like, and then like I think we should maybe raise this point, because I feel like there's some people who want their own Discord. For example, like, where is that person? I know there's people that have like kind of big Discords, so they might not want to give that up, but maybe they could have both. But then, do they want to promote both? You know, so maybe it could be an optional thing. Like if you want to do it, feel free, and it helps. Zendra has one, yeah. So Zendra has like over 1,000 people in their Discord group, and so obviously like they probably want to be using that Discord and not ours. But we can maybe just leave that up to the individual people, I guess. Like not everyone has to do it, you know, like it's optional kind of. And if you do it, then maybe the small people, it helps out because we're all together, and then it's easier to find the other groups maybe. I could change. Is it possible to change the name? Because it's called Emoji Pop. I could totally change it to something else. You can do it as incubator. Right. An incubator. Makes sense. That's a good word for that. For really small projects. Makes sense. And honestly, it would be easier too, because like I'm always flipping around between these different mobile game groups. I haven't joined very many, but there's more I want to join. And it'd be easier if they were all just like lined up here, and we could just, you know, I think that might be easier maybe. Maybe I'll raise this point. So let me know if I'm like wording this wrong, or if there's other ways I should say it. Let me know. I'm just gonna say like, we were talking on the stream. I'll say, we were brainstorming on the stream about how to increase visibility of all our mobile games, get more players involved in community. I'll say like Dev Yeti, Tibisoft, and I were discussing a possibility of all our different games having their own, oops, I misspelled there, their own channel in our Discord group server here. Makes sense. Not everyone would want to do that. Some already have a good following in their own server. but was just curious what y'all thought of this. I could change the name of this server. Can you change names of servers? I think you can. Change name of Discord server. Yes, you can. To be like mobile game incubator or something like that. Tibasoft liked it. Thanks for the like. I think that's a really interesting idea. Like, thank you for this awesome brainstorm. But yeah, like, I'd love to talk more about this problem of getting mobile players into the game. That's a really interesting question. Oh man. Okay, I need to think about this. I think I need to get here. Oh god. Oh wow. I didn't know I could do that. Like, that's really cool. I was really wondering if you could do that. Like, I the sheep was moving, and I like while it was in mid-flight, I swiped up at just the perfect time and lashed onto it. That was really cool. I didn't think you could do that. I really that even like adds to like the skill potential of it. I really like that. It's like a chance risky thing to do. Um, Tibasoft said, maybe I mentioned before, but I spent some bucks, not much, on Google Ads, but I brought only fake users, or seemed to be fake ones, as they downloaded and deleted the game. Makes sense. I spent just a little bit of money on Facebook and Instagram, I think it was. And it was on my website, not a mobile app, and I didn't get any like long-term plays from that as well. I think you have to invest like a lot of money to get people to play your game. Like also like it probably depends on like the ads, the kind of ad has to be kind of perfected. There's probably like a lot of elements to it, but yeah, like similar for Facebook. I had a similar experience, so I definitely know what you're talking about with that. And like I think for indie developers, the amount of money we pump into advertising, even if they were really polished ads and perfectly like targeted and everything like that, like the big companies, they spend a lot of money in ads and they don't expect to make their money back for like years. But they can do that because they have like giant funding from these giant corporations all over the place. Tipasoft says maybe we should pay more for more valuable users. I think I was just thinking like the more money you spend, like just the more eyeballs it gets, and then potentially the more valuable people you just kind of get. So if you only spend like $10, $20 or whatever it is, like maybe you only get like one actual potential customer to see it. So like I was just saying like the more money, like just the more eyeballs, and just inherently the more valuable customers you're gonna get. I wish there's to me, like, I just like I don't think it's feasible for indie devs to just resource their own ads. That's why most game developers work with publishers, mobile game developers, anyways. Tipsoft says you can set a target price higher, but basically it'd be too expensive for indies. Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just like the because my experience on Instagram and Twitter is you just you spend a certain amount of money, or on Facebook as well, is like there's no like high value ads or low value. For me, what I saw is just like but I could be wrong about this, obviously. I just saw that you get to say how much you spend, and everyone gets like the same kind of exposure. That's what I saw at least. But also maybe Google ads are different. I could see that. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I could see that on Google. Like you get different kinds of features and stuff like that, and maybe different customers as well. I could totally see that. That's interesting. I didn't realize that about Google. That makes sense. I still don't think it's gonna be like worth it though. Like as I said, the corporations invest heavily in they invest thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in ads, and they do that because that pumps up their games to the top of the app charts. So then they get a bunch of organic exposure. They often get featured by the app stores because they get all these players in their game and start making money. And so those revenues really help to counterbalance the ad spending, which we can't achieve that level, to get on the app stores by ourselves and to get featured by ourselves often. And still, they don't expect that. They know they're gonna make their money back in like a year, so they're willing to make like $100,000 investment in ad spending for a game because they know in a year they'll start making money, and they're okay because they're a long-term huge company, And so I don't think it's really feasible for us to be spending money on ads for the game, alone. Maybe viral features make it more valuable because if like if out of 10 players, one player shares the game to like their whole audience, if you have those kind of features, maybe it's more worth it to do the ad spending. But still, I think we need to figure out ways to just get around that. And I think, as I said before, like putting ourselves out there on social media, YouTube, Twitch. I know that's not the best way to get casual audience members, but maybe on YouTube, maybe on Facebook, maybe just pushing the social media stuff can start to help that. But I also, as I said, I think the viral features are really important. Dev Yeti says, I have 3 different game ideas. May I expose them to you and we chat about it? Totally. Are you open to like sharing your ideas publicly? Because I would totally be down for that. Actually, I have more than 2. Tipasoft says, usually it is suggested for indies to build a community first, but I'm not sure if all games can do that. So my response to that is, if your game can't build a community, it makes sense not all games can do that, and you can still be successful if you can't build a community, but I think we should be designing games that can create a community. If we create a game that can't create a community, I think that's a mistake, Obviously, like there's some kind of casual games that you can't build a community for, and they can still be successful, but that's why I made the game with community in mind, Like casual games, yeah, it totally makes sense for some kind of casual games, but still, like, I'm making a casual game. Let me open it up again. I'm making like one of the most like kind of casual games you can make. It's like a bubble shooter. It's like just a simple color matching puzzle game. But I have another side of it where you can create your own levels and share them. So that's more targeted towards building a community. People who are aspiring game designers are interested in level design and sharing and creating things. So I think you can still, like, if we're creating casual games, you can still find a way to put in elements or different parts of the game and features that can create a community. So even for casual games, I think we need to make games that can create communities if we can. Just as indie devs, I think that would really help us out. And that's also why I'm integrating like social media and videos into it, because I'm integrating like my personality and social media and everything together. And you can even watch my like YouTube videos within the game itself. This is a video of me eating toothpaste as a placeholder. But you can minimize it, so my hope is to have like you can watch tutorials, etc. Dev Yeti says, do you know Danny on YouTube? He's a young dev on YouTube with a big community. Even the game he does, like not caring at all, have a lot of downloads because everyone wants to try it. Let me look at that. Um, Tipasoft says, yeah, but e.g. housewives won't be a part of these communities. Um, that's true. But, for example, in my case, if I just made a bubble shooter game, it's hard to create a community around that. Um, for like the e.g. housewives or whatever, like they won't be interested in community, etc. But we're talking about how to surface the game to those housewives or whatever it is, the casual older audiences that like spend money on these kinds of games, by creating parts of the game that are targeting the more hardcore kind of players there and allowing them to share their levels. That's how we get to the housewives and the more casual audience, at least a little bit, because you're going to create a hardcore community that's going to be sharing your game for you, like going to be creating levels and trying to get people to play them. And so we can build an audience of more hardcore people, that attracts the more casual audience that we're actually looking for, you know? So that's why I still think we need to build a community. So if your game is totally casual, we need to design those kind of casual games in a way to target the more hardcore kind of obsessive people, and they will and make them give them features that allow them to share the game to the casual audience. And so we can't build a community of casual audience, but we can build a community of hardcore people that share it to the casual audience. Interesting strategy, this is Tipasoft. I think so too. Maybe it won't work, and maybe my implementation of it is wrong, but to me, I'm just going for like, because it is almost it seems like an impossible problem. So this is just my best solution right now to solve that. Dev says, I was thinking about how your game could be advertised. I'm totally interested in knowing, and feel free to share your game ideas. I totally love listening to game ideas and like just conceptually think about games. You know, it's as a game designer. Tipsoft says, hope it will work. Hope it works too. It might not work all the way great, but like that's okay. You know, and part of my strategy is I'm just trying to make the best game. I'm trying to make the ultimate mobile puzzle game. You know, and so when I put it on the app stores, like maybe I failed to create a community. Maybe I failed at getting casual audience members. But what I'm not going to fail at is making the ultimate bubble shooter. And the bubble shooters make a lot of money in the app stores, and they're a big deal. And mine is, I think, 10 times better than any competing product. So my hope is maybe that gets me features, maybe that gets me press attention, yada yada, you know. So in addition to trying my best to build a community and get casual players to do it, the most important thing obviously is to make the most amazing game you can. And if you can blow your competitors out of the water, like that's like a really huge advantage that I think we undersell. Yeah, and I'm totally open to how my game could be advertised, Dev Yeti. That sounds like a great something I can learn a lot from. This is interesting. Dev Yeti says, I thought you should surf on events release. Create map with message in it that you could diffuse on Facebook, 9gag video, draw art on it, like a Nike something logo to show on Twitter. Let me read that again. Also, before I forget, I want to look up Danny, game dev. Oh yeah, I've seen this person. Interesting. They have so many views, it's crazy. So like that's awesome if you're a game developer to have like these immense views on videos, like that's cool. I was trying to make daily YouTube videos, but I kind of stopped. Maybe I'll pick that up again eventually. So Dev Yeti says, I thought you should surf on events release. I'm not sure what that means. Surf on events release. Create map with message in it that you could diffuse on Facebook. Create map with message. I'm not sure what do you mean by creating a map with message in it. Video of it, draw art on it, like Nike or some logo to show on Twitter. If you could specify or kind of reword what you're saying, I'm not sure what you're saying. But I really want to know because I feel like you probably have some really good ideas on this. You should surf on events release. Is events release like a website? Create map with message in it that you could diffuse on Facebook. Create a map. I like this level because you're like kind of working with the timing of these things and trying to like get in between the sheep. That's cool. Oh wow, so I have to avoid this bomb with this sheep moving. Oh my god, that was intense. Oh, this is crazy. Oh shit. Yeah, so if you could like reword what you're saying, I really want to know what you mean. But also like your game ideas, I'm totally dying to know what your game ideas are. I love talking about game ideas. Like at my old job, that was my favorite thing to do, is just talk about conceptual game ideas like all day. That was the best. Have meetings where we just talk about obstacle ideas and stuff like that. Oh my god. This is a good level. Yeah, sorry. GF is talking to me and still working. I'll try ASAP. Cool, no problem. Oh, shoot. One. Two. Three. One more. No! At first in this game, I was concerned by like because eventually they allow you to skip levels if you watch an ad, and I thought that could kind of sabotage the monetization. But I think it makes sense because the game is so skill oriented that you don't want to like punish players who aren't as good at it. So I think that totally makes sense. Tipazoff says actually I make a special level for Shooter Mate where you do not jump on platforms, etc. On a one screen, you should shoot continuously to eliminate the attack of aliens. That's cool. I like that, and I could see that working really well in your game. I like the idea of like mixing it up like that. Like, I love when games do that, where you're used to playing a certain kind of way, and then everything changes and it focuses on one aspect of the game. You know, I could totally see that being really fun. Like, maybe you're standing still, and I'm guessing, and like the aliens are coming at you from everywhere. I think that could be really fun. That's a great idea. I like that as like a. I could feel like that being almost like a boss moment where it kind of like it's like a moment of climax, you know, followed by kind of a release. I could see that being really fun. I could see that even happening multiple times in the game, you know, where maybe the first time it's a little bit easier and then the second time it's like a little bit harder. Like that seems like a really great idea. Chibisov says, I also like to sometimes mix the games. Yeah. Variety is really important. Okay. Got all the insides. I'm gonna try the outsides again. Thank God. Oh man, one more. Okay, I'm not gonna mess this up again. There we go. One more stage. So I love these. I love when they start at the beginning of the level, kind of easy. Gives me some relief, you know. Oh man, this is difficult. No, no. Thank God. Oh, this is hard. But yeah, it's great to have this conversation about like how we get casual players. And really awesome. Like I think it was Tipasoft that first brought it up. Like, because that's the $1 million question for indie devs. You know, like if we're gonna challenge the dominance of these larger companies, we need to figure out our own strategy, and it hasn't really been done yet. You know, like some games get lucky, like the Flappy Birds of the world. You know, like that's just luck though. And it's harder and harder now with all the mobile games out there to replicate that kind of success, that breakaway success, like with a Crossy Road or whatever it is, you know. So, and I love these creative problem solving kind of spaces. Like, I think that's what I'm good at, you know, thinking outside the box and coming with new solutions and really thinking through all these facets of problems. Like that's what I love to do, and so that's why I love game development. And so the business of getting people into games, casual players, such an interesting problem since we don't have the resources, you know. So, but I think we have some major advantages that we aren't using enough, like I've talked about, you know. Uh, all right, I'm gonna try to beat this level, and then I'll move on to working on Emoji Pop. But still, totally open to this kind of conversation. This is tough. Oh my God. Oh my God. I had 3 more. How do I get here? Oh, I see. Oh! I did not think I was gonna win that. That feels amazing. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Level 19. Oh man. My heart is like racing right now. Minimize that. Yeah, so I've seen this person before. They're really capitalizing on these like trends. Oh wow, I thought they posted a lot more frequently. I guess not. Interesting. They must make really quality videos. I am subscribed. I made Among Us, but it's 3D. Interesting. I made Fall Guys in 1 week. Make a game in 3 days. So they all have these kind of narrative things, or they're attached to some kind of trend. I think that's a smart strategy for these videos. I'm gonna look at these later on. That's interesting. Maybe we'll watch one now. Let me pull it up on my computer on the side here. Alright, I'm gonna open this. Let's watch the recent one. So, Danny, I made Among Us.
Among Us. We're playing Among Us! Among Us. Among Us. Among Us. Among Us.
Among Us.
Among Us. So everyone on the entire internet is playing Among Us right now, and if you're living under a rock and you somehow don't know what Among Us is, here's the basics. There's 10 players and 2 of them are evil imposters. To win the game, you must figure out who the imposters are, but the imposters can win by killing everyone else. It's basically Mafia, but for gamers. Now, since I made Fall Guys recently, I'm gonna take a break this week and chill out for a bit. So yeah, we're gonna make Among Us, and make it a 3D game instead of 2D. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create the player model. Now, I'm not really known for my modeling skills. Actually, I'm not really known for anything, but fortunately for us, the player model is just a bean, so even I should be able to pull this off. And after spending a bit more time than I would like to admit, we now have a bean with glasses and a jetpack. So I got our jetpack bean into Unity, and then I did some googling, found some code for a toon shader, our toon shader. The toon shader is made by Daniel Illette, and it gives our game a sort of 2D art style kind of look, which I'm totally vibing with, so yeah, check out Daniel, he's got a ton of cool shader tutorials. Fuck me. And before going any further, I set up everything in an organized list, because that makes me look like I know what I'm actually doing, which I don't. So,
I'm never organized like that.
So I got some basic player movement into the game, allowing you to move around. Now, I just yoinked the movement from my game Carlson, which saved me a lot of time, and oh, you're wondering what Carlson is? Well, I'm glad you asked. Carlson is just a game I'm working on, which is currently the 20th most wishlisted game on Steam. We're trying to get to the #1 spot, so make sure you smash wishlist now, gamers. Currently, though, you're just a grey bean moving around, but we'll fix that later. As a wise man once said, beans Now, since we have movement, we need something to move around in, and Among Us has 3 different maps, so we're gonna recreate the one called Polus. Mainly just because it has a lava pit you can throw people into, and yeah, honestly, I just want to throw some of my friends and some red boys into the lava pit, because red boys. So I got to work on straight up cloning and recreating the map. Yeah. Now, this is a pretty quick process using Pro Builder, and I've had tons of practice lately since I've been working a lot on making maps for my game Carlson. Now, Carlson is a game original, and after a while we now got the basic map down. Now, it looks really boring for now, but
These videos are pretty funny and entertaining.
We also need a minimap, and if you don't know what a minimap is, it's basically just a small map. So I made a circle, and then using a sprite mask, we can just mask the map inside of the circle. Then we keep track of the player's C rotation and apply it to the minimap. And finally we do the same thing for the player's position, and tada, a minimap. Yeah, it's still just a small map. Okay, so one of the most iconic things in Among Us is when you kill another player.
I like it, cut G.
And straight up just chop their body in half, leaving only a big bone sticking out. It's almost as big as your mom. Always drink your milk for big and healthy bones, gamers. Okay, so this should be pretty simple. Let's see here. Literally just chop his body in half. Yeah, chuck a big fat bone in there, and voila, we're done. I mean, listen, I'm not supposed to give my personal opinion here on this channel, but is it just me, or is that bone looking kinda thick? Now we also need to make the kill look a bit more juicy, so we're gonna add some particles using Unity's particle system, a great system for making particles. And here is the result. You can now go shop shop and enemy go bye bye. I'm also gonna be making some sound effects for this using my mouth, which is gonna make it even better, hopefully. But first, I made some UI icons in Photoshop, so I was pretty happy with these icons and didn't realize anything was wrong until my man Spoo pointed it out.
A backwards Q?
Yeah, that's...
Shut up. So, apparently I don't know how to draw a Q correctly, but, I mean, listen, I was never the sharpest bean in the drawer, okay? Don't judge me. And, I mean, who cares which way the Q goes? It's irrelevant, it doesn't matter.
The way he tells jokes reminds me of like PewDiePie.
Anyway,
He said got the same
tasks,
cadence
you
as
can,
him.
you can kill people, you can report dead bodies, which will take you to the meeting where you can talk shit and lie to your friends, and then throw them in a pool of lava, as you do because you hate your friends. Good vibes.
How are you so bad? Just vote bad! I'm losing my mind!
So we got the basic gameplay done, and the shape of the map is also finished, so it's time to make it look better. I found a couple of free textures from cc0textures.com and got to work on adding details and materials to the map. We also need some props and objects to place around the map, so first I made a box, and then I made a locker, and then I realized I am terrible at making models, and then I started questioning my entire existence. So I headed over to Google Poly instead and downloaded a bunch of free models. I placed them all over the map and added some tiny details here and there, and it now looks much better. Also, yeah, that's a giant drill. Don't ask why. We don't speak about the drill around these parts. Okay, so we're pretty much done now, right? Psych! Now it's time to actually turn it into a multiplayer game, so you can play the game with others. But I have done this several times already with other games, and Among Us is a really simple game, right? So this should be a walk in the park. I was wrong. I haven't slept in 3 days. Code. A lot of code. I want to commit die.
I'm glad it's not too easy because that would have made me feel
But
pretty
hey,
crappy as a game
it's
developer.
Kind of working now. You can walk around. You can see other players walk around. You can kill them. You can have meetings and more. I also added a bunch of scuffed tasks, which are just kind of bad versions of the original ones. But hey, they get the job done.
There's like switches. There's like a billion switches in this game. But usually
Has anyone seen chocolate?
Now we're almost finished, but we still need some sound effects, and the most iconic one is of course when you chop off the head of other players. So let's get to work. Now there's water everywhere. Then we just apply a little bit of sound editing magic, and when I say a little bit, I mean a ton. To make it go from this to this. It's not 100% like the original version, but I think it sounds pretty good. I also added some walking and ambient sound effects, and here it all is in action. And for the final touches, we need a main menu. So let's see here. Among Us, and yeah, there we go. Scuffed edition. Alright boys, looking pretty good. Finally, let's just polish some of the rough edges, fix a little bit of code, and this should be done pretty quickly. There's so many errors, so many small things that don't work, so much networking code. And finally boys, after like 1.5 weeks of work, we have created Walmart Among Us in 3D. The server is simply a Linux file, so I just chucked it into a Google server, got that baby up and running with some cool ass Hackerman text, and we can now connect to the server from across the world, get into a lobby, ready up, and once all of the players are ready, 1 or 2 players are made imposters and we can enter the game. Now before I show you some of my 9 million IQ gameplay, you probably want to play this for yourself. Now because of legal reasons, I cannot release this game unless I get permission, and if I get permission, you should be able to find a download in the description, as well as a video informing you how to set up a server and actually play the game. So I'll keep you updated in the description down below. Now keep in mind, it's 100% understandable if they don't allow me to publish the game. From their perspective, I'm just some random idiot who stole their game and made it 3D, so yeah, it's totally understandable. And if you want to play Among Us, just buy the game. It's like $5, I think. It's super cheap. If you want to play the game, just go to Steam and buy it. It's that simple, okay? Cool. But with that being said,
It's interesting that it needs permission.
here's my 9 million IQ gameplay. Also, make sure to smash subscribe for more garbage.
Sorry guys, I can't come to lunch. I blew all my money on.
Yeah. Well, we're like 6 imposters. Get them, boys, get them.
That was interesting. It was good for me to see that video. Like, it's pretty inspiring. Like, the way he makes his videos is very entertaining, and he's obviously a total beast at making games, way more than I am. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty like, that's a good superpower to like quickly make these kind of trending games while they're popular and stuff. That's interesting. One thing I wanted to look up is, like, I was looking for like bad interviews, because on our Discord we now have the ability, I realized we have the ability to like have people call in and stuff like that, and we can I can interview developers and answer questions from people or get feedback from people by voice or whatever, which I'm always open to do. I've never tried it yet, so if anyone ever wants to do that, let me know. But I was looking, like, I wanted to like watch some like bad game design interviews, because we were talking yesterday, like most like interviews that people do of game developers are awful, like just awful. It's like the interview was just reading a list of questions kind of, and none of them have to do with each other, and it's not really diving deep into game design or much of anything interesting. So kind of wanted to IGN game developer interview. This is an interview of Jonathan Blow. That could be interesting. It's only 6 minutes.
My finger is on the button. Push the button. Time has come to. Game Changers is IGN's look at the people behind the games that changed the industry.
Cup of noodles. LOL.
In the summer of 2008, Jonathan Blow released Braid. This influential, emotionally charged puzzle platformer quickly became a huge critical and commercial success. It changed the way the industry looked at indie developers forever. In 2004, having spent more than a decade working as a programmer, Blow was growing listless.
It took me a long time to figure out that I need to be working on the things that I care about the most, right? And as long as I'm doing that, then I have no problem putting in infinite amounts of work.
It was around the end of this year the initial ideas for Braid began to come together.
Some of my friends were arguing about rewind in video games. A recent game that had come out at that time was Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Some of the other people were arguing, well, if you do that, you're going to take away all consequence from games, and isn't that a bad thing? But what bugged me was like nobody actually was interested enough to try it, right? People just talked about it. And I guess that's a common theme everywhere, right? It's hard to try things, it takes work. But right about then, I was looking for a new thing to spend time on, so I said, why don't I do this thing?
Blow's vision was equal parts mechanical and narrative. He sought to fix this lack of time travel consequence and marry it with a narrative that was open to interpretation, drawing inspiration from some of his favorite novels.
So the interesting thing about Braid was that starting very early in development, like the first 2 weeks.
It's not really an interview. You know, I just interviewed Gabe Newell. I kind of wanted to see that again. What do I want to listen to? Let me know if anyone has any suggestions of what to watch or listen to while I work on code. I'm trying to think of something that is interesting to me and everyone, maybe. You know, Ken, what's his name? Ken Levine interview. Some news came out recently that his next game is kind of approaching completion. A creative director. He gave this talk called Narrative Legos. Maybe that would be good to watch.
Get rolling? All right. Hi. Thanks for coming. Our talk today is on narrative Legos. And what that is building narrative, replayable narrative out of lots of tiny little pieces. Before we get into that, who am I? I'm a creative director and a writer. I run Irrational Games until recently, and then for about 17 years. I was at Looking Glass before that. And we were known for doing a lot of linear narrative games. Starting my first game I worked on at Looking Glass was Thief, and then did System Shock 2, and Freedom Force, and Freedom Force: The Third Reich, and then the BioShock games. And I think we, you know, as a team, and I see a lot of the team members out here, which is great. You know, I think I'm pretty proud of what we did with linear narrative, and I think we took it pretty far.
Testing the audio.
We're very proud of what we did. But we've been, you know, I've personally been doing it for almost 19 years. So why change? Well, the problem with narrative is that you sort of have to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that gets time consuming, that gets expensive, and you're devoting years and years of your life to this one sort of big moment, which you ship the game and it comes out and people play the game and it's 12 hours long, and they have that great experience, and you see cosplayers and fans for years like that, but you don't have that constant engagement with the audience. Another thing about the audience, linear narrative puts a boundary between the developer and the audience.
This kind of ties into what we were talking about yesterday with consumable games being a thing of the past and how we need to shift to
open alpha,
unique situation generators.
Once that's revealed, once those key story bits are revealed, that's really your secret sauce. And so we sort of had to have a lot of secrecy. We had to have a lot of behind closed doors. And we got very good at keeping secrets, but I don't think we ever really enjoyed the process of keeping secrets. It got very stressful, and I don't think it was great for building relationships with the audience. I think right now audiences want to be part of it. They want to communicate it. They want to be playing alphas. They want to be giving their feedback along the way. And linear narrative really doesn't allow for that. I've always been a fan of systemic games. I mean, I've been playing Civilization since the first one that came out, and I'll play every version of every Civilization, every add-on pack forever. XCOM is another one of my favorite games. I grew up playing paper, hex-based board games, but my games that I've worked on haven't really been like that, with the exception of Freedom Force a little bit. But narrative and systemic they kind of fight with each other. And so we haven't really been able to sort of make, really integrate system work as much as possible. So to do something really different, we really had to go back to the drawing board, and that required a new structure, a smaller group of people, and time. That was the most important thing. Time to fail. Time to fail for a long period where you don't have 150 people who are looking at you and saying, dude, what am I supposed to be doing today? I want to say a couple of things that this is not. This talk is not a design for a specific game. I'm not here to pitch a product. It's a GDC talk. You're all developers.
What's up,
I'm a
Kessels?
developer.
Thanks for joining us.
This is just
I
early.
made you a moderator, by the way.
Early thoughts on something that I want to put out there. This
Hope
is
you
not
don't
like a
mind.
specific development plan where, oh my God, they cut that feature. There's no features here yet. We're just really talking at a very high level. It's not intellectual property. You're going to see nothing here like a...
Let me know if Kessels, if you got any updates in your game or anything you want to throw at us. Yes, says Kessels. Cool. Yeah, I made you and Mattman mods. I think we can only have 2 mods for now, but just because you've been with us for a long time, etc., a couple months, I think. But yeah, let me know if you have any updates in your game. Makes sense if you don't. Obviously, it's still in development. Everyone should check out Undead Eatery on Steam and wishlist it. Yeah. We're watching this talk by Ken Levine, who made BioShock, and he gave this talk on narrative Legos a while back, and it's all about how he's shifting his focus away from consumable linear games to games that are unique situation generators, like we talked about yesterday, since those can be kind of more interesting. I'd consider Undead Eatery to be a unique situation generator to a degree. But Ken Levine is thinking of like a huge possibility space, like creating like a Elder Scrolls kind of game, except instead of it being like a linear experience, it's like this huge open world where like it's legitimately open, where like you can I don't know. I'll let Ken Levine speak for himself, but we'll see. We were also talking about on Discord about maybe I think I should change the name of our server. Where can I do that? Change nickname. It's probably in settings. Change nickname. That's my name. Server settings. Okay, we're gonna change the name of this Discord to Mobile Game Incubator. I'll leave the smiley face for now. We can always change it later. Save changes. And so our idea is, we're starting to talk about this. Dev Yeti is now, Arcony is no longer Arcony, they're now Dev Yeti. That's going to make it a lot easier for me to remember. So we were thinking like, we could have a different channel for each of our mobile games on this Discord. And so we were thinking that's like a way we could like, if, for example, if each game of ours can get like 5 casual players. Let me turn down my volume just a tad. If each of our games can get like a handful of people, like, because a lot of us make smaller games and have smaller communities right now, we could combine them all into this giant mobile game incubator server. And that way we could kind of increase all of our visibility on Discord a bit. But it makes sense that some people have like a good following on their Discord server and they don't want to do this, so that totally makes sense. But I figured it could be a good idea for all of us. And that actually came from, I believe it was a combination of Dev Yeti and Tibisoft. Maybe one of them suggested originally. I think it was Dev Yeti. But yeah, I thought it was a good idea. So anyone reach out to me and I'm wondering, should I... Video games... I should probably restructure this a bit. So we have Emoji Pop. Maybe I should have one giant group here, and then a bunch of individual channels for each game. Live stream. So maybe I move this game development into one of our main groups. Also, we have this promo. I think I'm gonna delete this because I think it serves the same purpose as game development. Delete. I'm gonna change this category. This is gonna be mobile games. Okay. And so here's where we'll create all of our individual mobile game channels. We have our stream. I'm going to put that on top. No one's using member streams. I'm going to delete this for now. Maybe I move live streams here. We don't need this group category. I don't know the names of any of this stuff, so I keep saying channel, server, all these things interchangeably. So, mobile games. I'm going to delete level play testing. So I'm going to change this to Emoji Pop. Devyeti says, do you need the Firebase BDD? I'm not smart enough to know what BDD stands for. I assume that means database. Do you need to pay for it? It is free up to a certain amount of memory and stuff like that, which I'm nowhere even near. So I do use Firebase for Emoji Pop for my backend, and I haven't needed to pay for it at all. They allow you to kind of scale up with price, and for a long time you don't have to pay anything, so it's totally free for me. Good question. I've really enjoyed using it. It's really easy to use, in my opinion. Someone who hasn't worked a ton with this back-end development stuff. Let me know if you have any more questions about that. Okay, I need to get the emoji in there. I can't though yet. Emoji. Can you use capitals? I guess not. Emoji Pop. Save changes. That was just my chair. I swear I didn't fart. Close. I'm gonna copy the smiley face. Channel. Paste. Save changes. Close. So I'm gonna add this to our mobile games group. I'm getting a phone call, which I'm ignoring. Devyeti says, "Okay, thanks. I have an idea of an art game, but I don't know how to create it. Need to find a way for a hosting game with IP or auto matchmaking, and a way to draw in Unity and save it for the actual game. I have an idea of art game. Don't know how to create it. Need to find a way for hosting game with IP." Gotcha. Yeah, so for my game, I just bought a domain, playemojipop.com, and it's really easy to hook it up to the database for using Firebase. Auto matchmaking. So it's gonna be. Is it gonna be? I'm guessing a multiplayer game then. in a way to draw on Unity and save it for the actual game. Are you saying that people are going to be doing things and you need to save it on the database? Mattman proposed to me to look at Photon, but man, I'm not used to it for the moment. Is Photon a game engine? I think I've heard of that. It is a type of elementary particle. I would not recommend you make a game with an elementary particle. I imagine that would be difficult. JK. He says Devyeti engine. Oh, multiplayer game development made easy. Interesting. Yeah, I have like kind of a reluctance to like learn new tools like this. Sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth, you know. At least from someone of my skills. Interesting. I could see them recommending it because it makes sense. It's totally tailored for that kind of problem. But yeah, I'm with you on that, Devyeti. Yeah, because then you run into all these other problems, and yeah, I totally feel you. Exactly my thoughts, says Devyeti. I do not really like to use CRM. See, I'm such an idiot. What does CRM even mean? Reactive. Oh. Customer relationship management. So it's like the way you use the data and stuff like that. I could totally see you using like Firebase to kind of handle that data and stuff like that. That totally makes sense. And it's like there's two types of databases. One is like a real time and one is like a reactive. And so one of those might be better for your situation. I could totally see you making a multiplayer using that. I feel like it'd be pretty easy, especially if like as long as you're not like multiple people moving around the world, as long as it's just like kind of sharing like stuff, like Firebase would be perfect for that. Like drawing stuff and saving it, the data on the database, Firebase is totally perfect for that. Okay, so let me know if does anyone else want the database would just be a dictionary, says Devyeti. Yeah, perfect. I would really recommend Firebase in that case. I've had a great time using Firebase. It's very easy. Let me know if anyone, Kessel says, I use a Linux server for online. So I think Kessel's is a little more advanced than me. It makes sense that you're using like a legit server and stuff. That's an interesting suggestion. Devyeti says people would be able to propose sentence. People would be able to propose sentence and admin would be able to accept or refuse them. Gotcha. I'm not sure what you mean by proposed sentence. Like they type a sentence and enter it. I saw that Danny used the Google server mode on available on Google to use your computer as a server. Yeah, I saw that too. All that stuff scares the crap out of me because I'm a crappy software engineer, you know. So yeah, I avoid that stuff at all costs. That's why I don't make multiplayer games. I'm thinking of multiplayer features, but it would be like not in real time, so I can use like just Firebase or whatever. I've tried using servers and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm not good enough for this. I need to learn a lot more. Kessel's for ball arts? Question mark. Let me know if anyone wants me to add them to the mobile games list. So let me know what you want your channel to be named. I can get rid of this category. So these are our main channels. Videos and announcements. Do I need this? I don't need this. Introduce yourself, general, game development, live stream, and then here's where all of our mobile games will be. What do you mean by that, says Kessels? I forgot what was the game developed. Oh, so Kessels is making Undead Eatery. Undead Eatery. That's a different person that made that ball art game. And so Kessels is using the Linux server because there's going to be like an online component to this Undead Eatery. It's kind of like Diner Dash, except yeah, you're like the restaurateur. Oh yeah, zombie and restaurant, exactly. Yeah, so if anyone wants to have their own channel, let me know. And especially if you're going to be using it actively and advertising it or whatever. I feel like I could get a lot of people that don't end up using it, and so I'll probably remove those after a while, but then I can always add them back later, you know. But anyone message me or whatever if you want me to add them, and I will do that. It could be cool. It could be a cool way to get people more invested in the Discord too. So I'm gonna keep this playing, this video, but feel free to interrupt me at any time.
Rapture or Columbia, you're going to see me stealing a lot of meta intellectual property from other people that we're just using for the purpose of example. And for headline, if you're a journalist and your headline says, Levine reveals new game, you've written the wrong fucking headline. But one of you will write it, I guarantee it. All the content here you're going to see is basically just stolen from other places, from other great games, but it's the content, the kind of worlds, the kind of characters.
That's really
it's
funny.
It's just for the purposes of example.
Levine
So,
is pretty funny.
So that's a lot of what this isn't. What this is, it's a conversation. It's my way of contributing to a conversation, which I think is already going on. A lot of people I respect in the industry have been thinking about some of these things, and this is me and my team trying to bring our sort of approach to it. And that's my PowerPoint skills at work. So it's our initial scratching in there to try to figure out a way to really make player-driven, these are the key words, player-driven, replayable narrative. Okay, so I want to say one thing. A lot of times these talks are like, well, don't record this, don't do it, don't take pictures, don't do anything like that. This is completely open source. Take pictures, film it, put it on the internet, whatever you want to do. You know, do a riff tracks to it, I don't care. But you know, tweet it, and most importantly, if it's something useful to you, steal whatever you want from it. I don't know how much it's going to be useful because it's pretty early, but there's nothing proprietary here that you should be remotely nervous about leveraging for your own stuff. All right, so we talked some about the negatives of linear narrative. It's incredibly expensive to make. The individual pieces don't speak to each other. They do emotionally, like what happened to Booker at the beginning of Infinite, talk to what happened at the end in the player's mind, but the game, there's nothing in the game in the way in Civilization, your choices you make at the beginning really make an effect at the end, like in a meaningful way, you know, which you know, types of cities you build, which types of cultural trees you've taken. They don't really do that in linear narrative. Branching does exist in a lot of games, not so much in our games, but there's still X number of states. And what I want to talk today is not X number of states, but X to the Y number of states. I haven't taken math since 1983, so I think that's right. It also, linear narrative doesn't really fully embrace the unique power of games, which is replayable and player-driven. You know, as much as I love the narratives we did, really, we were so much feeling, you know, we knew the constraints of it so much that we kind of made a lot of meta commentary on constraints because it is a constraint, and though I love that form, I think we sort of said what we had to say, and we want to see what's past it. And most importantly, it's not player-driven. You are seeing the same story your friend is seeing, or you're seeing X and Y versions of a story your friend is seeing.
1919 here, gotcha.
Multiple
Hope to see you
endings
soon.
still
Thank you,
mean a
Dev Yeti.
fixed
Thanks for
number
the
of
awesome
player
conversation
states.
today.
There's
Super
5
useful to talk
endings,
about
there's
that
not
stuff with you.
X to the
Hope
Y.
you have a good day.
endings.
Hope to see you soon too.
And one of the most frustrating parts for me
Really appreciate the support.
is you can only add in to a narrative game traditionally. Sorry, add on to a narrative game, meaning here's another chunk which you play that it's subsequent to what you already played. Where games like Civilization, games like XCOM, you can add into the experience and enhance the experience from the very beginning of the game. So that's going to be a focus of what we talk about today as well. I don't want to underplay the work that's being done in this area. I think, you know, if you look at stuff with BioWare, the stuff at, you know, the Witcher guys are doing, there's a lot of really great work about opening up narrative, but I think they're taking a fundamentally different approach. But in no way do I want to say their work isn't extraordinary and important. So how do we traditionally think about AI? Whenever I talk to people about AI, a lot of people say to me, when do you think an AI is going to be like a person? When is it going to pass the Turing test? And I think that's fundamentally too ambitious a way to think about characters in AIs. Because I think we've all demonstrated there's nobody on the planet who's even close to this. I think we're several paradigm shifts of not just technology. As a writer, it's hard enough to write one good character, let alone a character that can react to any arbitrary thing and say clever and funny lines while he does it. So a really robust solution to this lies beyond any technology or creative horizon that we currently have. So we're really scratching at the surface. But I think we're giving up the good for the great, because I think there's real major steps we can make here, but we have to refocus our attention a little bit. If you're overly ambitious, can lead to paralysis, and I think that's what happens. Well, we can't do it, so let's just not even really try. So let's try. Some first steps. Physics. Remember 20 years ago, there was no physics in games. Physics was an animation that played when you dropped something that did not speak to any math really of any kind. But when they started with physics, and I got very excited because I love simulation, they started very simply with 2D circles and rectangles and spheres and cylinders and axis-aligned boxes and so on and so on and so on. Now there's cloth and liquid, but they're still dealing with a subset, and they keep building up from that subset. But every time they add something to that subset, it gets more powerful and it gets more real feeling. But remember back in the day when the first things appeared, you weren't like, oh, fuck this, it's not perfect physics, let's forget it, I'm not going to play it. It was exciting. And I think that there's a path to take here with characters. So if we don't try to model everything, but model a set of limited and believable and impactful things. So let's try, as we think about this, to set some goals. Create a narratively driven experience where the narrative elements are nonlinear and they talk to each other.
It's 19:30 evening, going to drink a wine. Enjoy that wine, Tipasoft. Thank you for the awesome conversation, awesome brainstorming and ideas. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you joining being an awesome member of our community and joining our stream. I really appreciate it. I love having these people to talk to like you. So thanks so much. I'm really excited to play
we decide like in an infinite
future updates, and thanks for joining us.
Enter a bounding
Have
box.
a good
The only
night.
narrative thing would happen when you enter a bounding box. And
Get messed
you say,
up.
oh, you enter the bounding box and
Unwind.
conditions X, Y, and Z are met, so we'll trigger this narrative
Thanks.
event.
See you.
But
Cool.
those are
See you too,
generally
Tipasoft.
off of where the author intends them to happen, not where the player arranges for them to happen. These triggers, these things that change the narrative state, the things you can interact with in the narrative have to be transparent to the player, so you're not just like out there doing things and people are reacting in completely crazy ways. We want to show you the things, the passions, and I'll talk to you about what passions are in a minute, what they are and how you can interact with them. So let's, hope Todd Howard isn't here, but let's just sort of take their design, and it's, a lot of MMO style design and single player MMO like Skyrim design. Basics. So we have a game we can talk about that isn't necessarily in any way, shape, or form the game we're making, but it gives you some basis of understanding to apply the new stuff to. So let's assume a game, kind of open worldy, with factions you can choose between, with quests and character growth and armor to collect and monsters to fight and crafting of all kinds. I would expand the crafting I took a page out of Dark Cloud's book for this example too, Dark Cloud 2. Hope you've all played it. It's like one of the best games ever. You can actually craft, there you go. You can actually craft actual towns and buildings. And there's a cycle. You go to the dungeon, you collect loot, you collect crafting materials, you come back to the town, you can build parts of the town. That gives you buffs, that gives you new characters, that gives you new opportunities. There's a great cycle. What I talk about here is this strong loop between non-combat and combat. A really strong non-combat combat loop. Non-linear quest structure is also critical here. All right, so here's my incredibly innovative world. 4 villages. Imagine an open worldy kind of thing. There's an orc village, there's a dwarf village, there's a goblin village, and a elf village. And then there's you. You come into the world. And so now we start getting into the stuff that is the stuff we've been thinking about and the stuff we've been focusing our brain on. So in the orc village, there's lots of people. There's 5 stars in each town. Now that number is placeholder, but what I want is, when I say a star, these are the characters that really matter. And the question is, I don't want to overwhelm the player with 1,000 characters that matter, because you just won't be able to track them. So the number is really how many people can the player really track? How many stars can the player track? Okay,
Thanks
what is
for
a star?
RTS channel. Hooray!
A star
no
is an
problem.
NPC with a set of capital P passions, a defined term, which I'll define in a minute. What's passion? Okay, these are not full psychological models. You know, as I said, Tech Before has been trying to really fully simulate a human being and all, you know, and how they work, but I'm not really trying to do that. Let's go to literature and media. So you know a bunch of stuff about Luke Skywalker. He has passions, right? What are Luke's passions? He wants to prove himself. He wants to go on adventures. He has issues with his dad.
Let me see if I can get you
These
that
are things that really
permission.
define him. There's things that probably exist. We all have things that exist. And think about Luke. Just forget the people you know, people you work with. You know a bunch about
Can I
their
make you a
passions, but
moderator? Will that
you
give
don't
you
really know about their
permission?
kinky, weird shit that goes on at home.
I
Maybe
need
you
to
don't
like
even
create a
want to
role
know.
and stuff. Let me look into how to give you the
So
permissions in
there are
order
things
to
that
do
don't
that
really
fair.
matter. You know, maybe
I'll do
Luke
that
is
a little bit later.
vegetarian.
It's a
Maybe
good
he's one of those
idea.
really jerky vegetarians who won't stop. I'm a vegetarian, so I kind of know. He's got he's got a terrible tooth decay problem. He's got OCD, and like these are things that exist in Luke Skywalker, but they're just not relevant to the experience at hand. So let's not worry about that stuff. Let's just worry about his passions. So a passion is what a star cares about relative to the actions of the player, meaning relative to the things the player can impact upon. A passion is transparent to the player, meaning that the player can see these passions and see how they are, the character, the NPC is feeling about them in relation to these passions. A passion must be responsive to the player's actions. It has no meaning if you can't do anything about it. That's what, you know, you're the star, you're the center of this game. You want to be able to impact these passions. So, let's meet Frank, one of the stars of the Orc Village. He's a blacksmith. He has a store. Hey, guess what? He sells a lot of armor and weapons and crap like that. But unlike most blacksmiths who just stand there and deal with you on price, Frank's a little more complicated. He's kind of a deep guy. He's got 3 passions. Let's just talk about one of those passions. He has a passion, which is he hates elves. And a lot of orcs share this passion. And can you guys see the cursor I'm drawing with here? Yeah. There it is. Oh, it's great. It's completely offset from my screen. So you see that all the characters' passions or feelings about you in regard to this thing. So Frank cares about hating elves, but this is really about how does he feel about you in relation to hating elves. Well, he doesn't know you at first, so he's neutral with you. You know, he's right in the middle. But as you do things relative to elves, either doing bad crap to elves or doing good stuff to elves, he likes you more or less in regard to this passion. Okay? So, example. Frank hates elves, you kill an elf. Woo, he likes you for that, and his passion in this regard will move towards the positive. Nice and simple. On the other side, he hates elves, you help an elf of any kind. You know, you do a quest for an elf, you rescue an elf, you build a house for an elf, you woo an elf. He's going to feel more negative about this. This is all pretty simple, and you've seen some stuff like this in games before already. Frank has 3 passions that you know about at the beginning. And let's say the passions are he hates elves, he wants a temple to the old.
Cool. I'm wondering. So I haven't done this before. I'm wondering how do I give you that? Give that role to configure specific channels. So I'm looking at the permissions. I'm trying to figure out how to give the ability to pin things to that channel. Let me know if you know. Otherwise, I can just look it up later. Maybe on channel settings. Okay, let me look at that. Oops. Oops, what the frick? What the I hate PCs. Yes, there. Right. Gotcha. Manage channel. Can change the channel's name or delete it. That works. Create invites. Can change channels permissions. Okay. Webhooks. I don't even know what that means, but we'll allow it. Text permissions. Read, send, manage messages. Embed links, attach files, read message history, mention, use external emojis, sure, add reactions. I don't see anything about being able to pin. Permissions not synced with this category. Save changes. So I gave you every permission. Oh, okay, I still have to assign it to you though. So RPS play, I gave every permission. And I think I need to assign you that rule first. Okay, so you now have that rule. Good. So I'm hoping that allows you to pin. Just because I never saw it specifically say pin. I'm hoping that works though. Sweet! You pinned it. Awesome. Cool. Thanks for helping me figure that out. I've never been able to figure that stuff out, so thanks for walking me through that. Thanks, no prob. Thank you. And you can edit your name of the channel if you want, or anything like that as well. Let me know if there's any problems or whatever. This is a nice idea. Cool. I'm glad you like it, Fair. I was trying to look back at the chat. It was either Deb Yeti or Tipasoft that came up with it. Let me look. I think it was Dev Yeti. I think they both kind of came up with the idea. Yeah, I agree. It's a really good idea. And so I changed my name. This used to be a server for Emoji Pop, you know? But now I don't have a server for Emoji Pop. I was like, okay, let's just change the name to Mobile Game Incubator. And my game Emoji Pop now has one channel. And I figured we'd all have one channel. I think you had a good idea. Like, I could make a bunch of different categories for each game. But I figure, like, that just makes it so that eventually there's a limit to the number of channels. But also, like, I figure for people just browsing the games, it might be easier to just go channel game by game by game if they each have one channel, kind of. But if we figure out that that doesn't really matter that much, we could just change it so that each game has its own category with channels within it. We could totally change that if we decide together that that's better, you know. Just figure like we should at least like start out with one channel each, and we could totally change it because I could see people wanting multiple channels but they also have their own servers, you know. So I don't know. Like I'm totally open to feedback on that. And I'm trying to kind of streamline. I would take Shooter Mate 86 as a channel. Let's do it. And again, like I might realize, okay, this channel hasn't been active in a few weeks or whatever. I could switch it to like an archived kind of category. And if the person messages me and says, oh, because I definitely want it to be the active ones, you know, that are all in like the same category. If one becomes inactive, I'll move it away or make it invisible, and then I can always reactivate it if they want to make it active again. So Shooter May 86. It's a text channel. Let's create it. And I'm gonna create a new permission. I'm gonna make sure I can do this again. So I have to create a new rule. I'm gonna make a rule called Shooter Mate 86. Save changes. And I'm gonna give them all of the permissions. Give them the power. And save changes. Close. And let's make Tibisoft. Oh, cool. Fair iPhone. I'm guessing that's you, Fair. Thanks for joining our Discord. I'm going to profile. Oops, not profile. Give them the role. Cool. Added the channel and gave you full permissions on it. Let me know if any problems arise at Tibisoft. I'm glad you guys are changing your names to match up at least somewhat with your Twitch names. That helps me out a lot. Oh my god, everything just flashed. What's up, Guy Corp Games? Thanks for joining us. I don't recognize you from our stream or community yet. Are you coming from Twitch? Are you coming from our Discord or Facebook group? Let me know if you have anything you want us to play, or you got any updates on the game you're developing, or maybe you're just into mobile games. Nicholas. Mergy Man. Ah, gotcha. Thanks for joining us, Mergy Man. Ferris says hello. Hey, you know, so Nicholas, we had this idea. Some members of the community had this idea today to change our Discord. So as you can see on our screen, this is our Discord. So this used to be my Emoji Pop Discord, and someone had the idea to make it a mobile game incubator. So instead of having many small games with their own small Discords. Someone had the idea of we could give each game its own channel, and so this server, instead of being for my game, it can be for the whole community, you know. And so we were thinking we could give each game their own little community, and that could be a great venue to share updates on the game, and maybe we could each pull our own audiences together into this larger mobile game ecosystem. Great, nice idea, says Guy Corp. Do you mind if I add a Merge RPG and let me know? I'll just create a channel. Let me know if you don't want one, but I'll just create one because I imagine you might want one. Coming on Discord, so smiley face, sweet. So I'll create you a channel. If there's people that end up not using it, I can always just archive it and reactivate it later when they want it. So I'm gonna name it Merge RPG, but you can change the name later because I'm gonna give you permissions to. So I'm gonna create channel. I need to create permission. Roles. Merge RPG. Wonderful, says Guy Corp. Cool, I'll keep going through with it then. Save changes. Overview. I'd love to play Mergy again on Monday. I'm looking for some more games to play. New release is on its way, by the way. Super excited about that. Awesome. I would love to play it. Hopefully it's ready for Monday. I'd love to play your game on Monday. I could always play it the next Monday if your next release is after that too. So Merge RPG. Okay, so now I need to add it to the channel. I'm gonna give you all the permissions, and including the ability to change the name of the channel if you want. Android only for sure. Cool. And I've upgraded my emulator so that it runs more smoothly now. So now I can like play Android games a bit more smoothly. So that's totally cool. That Android will be ready. That's awesome. I'm definitely gonna play it on Monday. I will reach out to you before then, just to give you a heads up. I'm getting better at doing that now. iOS takes 10 to 15 days to approve a full release. That is insane. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm pretty sure it's the first time I've sneezed on Twitch. So I hope someone clips that and puts it in the memory banks, you know, for for posterity, for future generations. We just made history here. Our very first my very first live sneeze. So okay, I'm an idiot. Settings, permissions. Cool, and I'm gonna assign it to you. Let me look. What is your name on Discord? And if you are on Discord, you could totally hop over there, and then I could give it to you after. Oh, GuideCorp Games, here you are. Add role, Merge RPG. So now you have full permissions to edit Merge RPG to your liking. Fair, okay. Fair says, I'm testing. If someone can chat here directly after joining, it works well. If someone can chat here directly after joining. Let me know if Fair, is there something I can do? I've already joined the game, so I'm guessing I can't do that. Otherwise, I totally would. Let me know. Sweet. See, I'm really hoping for a big Monday stream. I really want to reach out to all these developers and say, like, hey, we're going to stream on Monday all of these games. And something else we're going to do is on Discord, I have this voice chat room available. And so I would totally love to, like, talk to developers if they want to. It makes sense if they don't want to, especially because this is in the middle of the day and everything. But if anyone wants to call in while I'm playing their games, we totally have a great discussion about the game and stuff too. I think that could be really interesting, and I could totally clip that for like a YouTube clip and throw it on YouTube. So let me know if anyone wants to do that, or you can just let me know on the day of. GuideCorp just arrived. Hello, everyone. Yeah, feel free to share your game, etc. You could do it in general, and then also in your Merge RPG category. That would be awesome, and keep us up to date on your channel if your new releases and stuff like that. It'd be awesome if you could invite people. But yeah, no worries. Sweet. Okay, so I think we got the Discord idea going well. I love this idea of having each channel have its own game, each game have its own channel. I think that's gonna be great for like kind of really making this a mobile game community. You know, it's not just about Emoji Pop; it's about all these games. I love that. Totally makes sense. It's something that was bothering me. I'm like, I have all these people in this server called Emoji Pop, but like, the whole server is not about Emoji Pop. You know, everything's about like, you know, indie mobile game devs helping each other out, and because we don't have the resources of the giant companies, you know, so we need to use every tool at our disposal, and one of those is working with all these diverse sets of mobile gamers and getting feedback from them and helping each other promote games and combining audiences in ways, you know, cross promotion and stuff. And so that's something that I think this server and this stream is going to be great for. So yeah, let me know if anyone has any suggestions or ideas about this, how to improve the stream or the community in any way. I'm totally open to ideas. My plan today is I'm going to be getting off at noon because I have an appointment. Normally I stream 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. But today I'm going to stop at noon, and I'm going to be back online at 9 p.m. tonight because I want to see if there's anyone online in our community at that time, 9 p.m. to midnight. Feel free to come by. It's going to be a weird stream late at night, you know. Who knows what's going to happen. Could be fun. But then a special announcement on 10 a.m. Monday next week. That's when we do our big community stream. So I'll play Merge RPG. We're going to play, but especially we're going to play Rock, Paper, Scissors, which is Fair's game. And we're going to do like a live tournament. And whoever wins is going to win $20. So it's just going to be a quick tournament where we play this awesome multiplayer game. And we're going to kind of give feedback to it and stuff like that. And if you win, and it's going to be a quick kind of tournament, you know. And if you win, $20 and we'll send it to you. And then I would love to like kind of find more indie mobile games that kind of pursue multiplayer. And like maybe we could have like a special stream in the evening once a week where we could get together and play, you know, games like for money and stuff like that for promotion kind of, but also maybe we could like play like, you know, like Among Us or something like that, you know, together. That could be kind of a fun group activity. If we don't have enough people for it now, I'm sure eventually as we keep growing, we'll have the kind of sides community that will work well with, you know, so no rush on anything. But yeah, I'm just kind of ranting a little bit, so I'm gonna keep playing this video. So what I do is if I don't have any games to play from people or updates or discussion topics, I usually just am playing an interesting
The new gods, the
video
old gods.
and reacting to it
And
kind
he
of
wants to
on
woo
game
Barbara
design or
York
something like that.
because she's beautiful.
I've been playing some of my favorite game design
And
videos,
you
and we've had
can
some really
impact
great
all these
conversations.
passions. You
We've been having some really great conversations about it, and I'm going to be putting those up on my YouTube, where I'm also Emoji Popcast. And so I'm super excited. So I'm trying to get the stream everywhere. You know, that's why I want to start making YouTube videos out of these clips, because I think we have some pretty engaging conversations here. It's like surprising how deep we go, like more than anywhere else I've gone into game design topics. And so by surfacing the stream everywhere and sharing all of this, you know, we're just helping out all these indie games, you know, by getting people into the Discord and our Facebook group, etc. Like, it's like what's it called? A rising tide raises all ships. So that's kind of the approach here. So I'm just gonna keep playing this video. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. And I'm gonna be on for another hour, but I have to get off. I normally don't get off so early, but I have a doctor's appointment I have to go to. So, but then I'll be back online later tonight. So let's keep playing.
can help him build the temple. You can help him prove himself to Barbara. All, you know, these are all normal sort
Testing
of
the audio,
questing
testing
things
the
and
audio.
building things and crafting things and fighting things and dungeony things and collecting things. But they're all impacted by you. These won't move on their own except what you do relative to them. Now, the macro passion. Okay, this is where it gets interesting to me. The macro passion, and this is where my math won't come in again. I'm going to say it's a function. I'm going to say it's an average, and I'm probably completely wrong because there's probably somebody telling me it can't be an average, but I'm saying it's an average, so shut up. It's a function or an average of the three micro passions. Yields basically their overall feeling about you. And remember, so it's not just one feeling. It moves on all these different axes. Those yield a larger feeling about you. And you see these little black lines on the macro passion. That's that gold bar. Those are called thresholds. And when you pass certain thresholds on that, Frank will start doing stuff for you or doing stuff against you, depending on how you're dealing with Frank. So, for instance, you steal the Elf King's crown. Remember, he does not like elves. So that micro passion feeds into the macro passion, and ding. Oh, I missed a slide. You kill some elves in the beginning. Ding, Frank says, oh, guess what? There's a 20% discount in my store from now on, as long as you don't go back past that threshold because you do things he doesn't like. Then you do something bigger. You steal an Elf King's crown. Ding, Frank offers to send NPCs, henchmen, to help you in battle. That will appear sometimes just when you need them. Now, player destroys an elf shrine. No ding, because you actually haven't crossed the threshold, but you're moving along the bar, so it's still good, but you haven't hit an actual threshold for a thing. Now you start hanging out with the elves, and you... no, that's the wrong thing. Oh, no, sorry, my mistake. You help build his temple. So the old gods that he likes. Ding, he makes a special item for sale. I think you get the idea. Now, on the other side, you start hanging out with the elves, and maybe you kind of like one of the elves, and you do a quest for one of them. Well, Frank's gonna hear about that. Unding, you know, his micro passion of elves will move back a little bit, and maybe enough to actually affect the macro passion bar, and that special item that was on the shelf goes off the shelf. And he will reflect all this in his dialogue with you. Yeah, dude, heard what you did with the elves, not fucking cool. You know, feeding this back is all really, really important. I'm going to take a little sidestep here and talk about zero-sum games. And they're going to be very important to what we're talking about here. You may be sensing this already. $10 to anybody who spots the math error, which I forgot to fix. So zero-sum game is, say there's 10 gold, and Ken and Pierre both want the 10 gold. And either Ken, and you could have a bunch of situations. I got 10, he's got none. I got 0, he's got 10. I got 3, he's got 7. I got 6, he's got 5. Drama major.
6 should be a 5.
But it's a zero-sum game, meaning if he gains, I lose. I gain, he loses. Then there's non-zero-sum games. And I'm going to use Lucky Charms, because I like Lucky Charms as an example. Say I've got a surplus of blue moons. And Pierre has a surplus of pink hearts, more than we can possibly eat. But we really both want the variety. It's really important for our economy. We can trade. So I give my surplus to him. This is classic, this is what trade is, right? He gives me his surplus, and now we both have much better economies because we have this mixture of resources we need. That's a non-zero-sum game. Zero-sum means you can't please everyone, and we're going to leverage zero-sum in this design substantially. So for instance, Frank and Pete hate elves. Player helps Romeo the elf, and Frank and Pete like you less. So the elves like you more, that elf likes you more, maybe other elves like you more, but they're going to like you less. Zero-sum. But there's even a zero-sum between in villages themselves. Frank the orc loves the old gods. Well, Pete the orc is a cleric for the new gods, and every time you help build the old god temple, you're going to piss Pete the orc off. Now, you can trade them off against each other, because remember, these aren't unilateral. Each character has 3 or more passions. So you can really piss Pete off in regard to the temple, but you can help him out in other areas, and you're going to have to balance all these things off one another. But they're all going to be transparent to you, and we have to have a limited number of them so you can really track this all, so it just doesn't become a giant spreadsheet that overwhelms you. But, you know, as I said, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Let's talk about the love that dare not speak its name. So, orc and elf. We have Juliet the orc is in love with Romeo the elf. Now, most of the orcs want bad crap to happen to the elves, except for Juliet. So you can go all day and pound on the elves, and all the orcs are going to love you, but you're going to be pissing off Juliet. So she's, for instance, the priestess in the temple. When she gives the healing, well, you're going to have a hard time getting that healing from her. But if you help Romeo, her approval is going to go up. But there's going to be a lot of orcs who don't like that. So even within villages, they're not a monoculture. They all have different hopes and dreams and feelings. So we talked about characters. You know, why are there only 5 characters in each city? Well, there's going to be a lot more characters, but there will be what I call.
See, what I really love about this talk is that Ken Levine, I talked a lot about, and we've listened a lot about unique situation generators, about how instead of making simply just consumable games, a better way to make games maybe for the modern landscape is, Ferris said, yes, iOS is very slow, not good to developers. Yeah, I agree. That is annoying. And I've heard it's a lot easier to release your game on Android and get updates for there. What I really like about this talk is that he's talking about how to create unique situation generators. And so his approach is, instead of like hard coding everything in the game, so in like Elder Scrolls, everyone's got really obvious motivations, etc. And what you do doesn't really affect what people think of you as much, you know, except for like direct actions. But in this world that Ken Levine is describing, there can be certain factions of people that have like different motivations, and so your actions affect how other people in the game perceive you, and so that creates unique situations. And so even though you have like some quest you're trying to solve, like if you're pissing everybody off, it's gonna be harder. And so like to me, this seems like a really interesting game because every time you play it, it's gonna be a bit different based on what you do. Your choices have direct influence in the game. So one thing that BioShock is often criticized for is that the choices that you're given don't really actually matter at all, and so the game is pretending to be some kind of moral exploration, but in actuality, your choices, whether you're killing the girls or not in the game, it actually has no impact really in the long run on the game itself. But what he's approaching now is, okay, let's stop making everything like an amusement park ride where it's on rails the entire time. You know, let's make everything like let's make the characters real people that have their own motivations and ambitions and way of viewing the world and will perceive you based on your actions. And to me, this creates like an awesome story kind of world. I'm so excited to play his newest game. And it was just announced that his latest game is really weird and that it's entering like the later stages of production. And so we gave this talk. This is from 2016, but I feel like the talk is older than that. Oh yeah, it's 2014. So I'm super excited to see where he goes with this. And yeah, like they mentioned Shadow of Mordor, it's kind of inspired by that a little bit, the gameplay a little bit, these kind of systems.
Called drones, and they're very simple. Their macro bar, they just have a macro bar, is a function of all the other of the stars in that town's macro bars. And basically, they're just going to be guards and hirelings and scouts and spies and foragers and shopkeepers who aren't complicated, but they just sort of feel generally how the town feels about you. But they won't be able to give you the kind of benefits that the stars will be able to give you. So that we'll populate the world, but not with millions of stars. I won't go too deep into this slide, but there's like a whole list of things you can accomplish for
I
people.
also really appreciate any
Probably
follows.
seen
If
a
you
lot
guys
of them
don't
in
follow
other
the stream
games.
yet,
Some
I
of
would
them
really
could be new.
appreciate that. So that we
Worshipping
can make
gods,
the stream
killing
grow.
people, rescuing
I'm
people,
getting close to
collecting
affiliate,
resources,
and I'm like
destroying
halfway there.
resources,
I think we can
and
do
then
it pretty
rewards
soon.
that these stars can give you, price adjustments, combat help. They can give you buffs. They can help you build new buildings, which give you other benefits. They'll loan you equipment. They'll give you equipment. They'll they'll send henchmen to help you. And then punishments the same way. They can do all the negative. They can raise their prices. They can embargo items to you. They can debuff you. They can send out hostile drones to get you. All kinds of crazy stuff. But this is a list will just keep growing and growing and growing. But all of these have to come off the macro bars, which are a net effect of the three passion bars. All right. So let's talk about a dramatic event. So we want in this world. Like I'm speaking very generally about stories so far, and this conversation will stay pretty particular and general about story. The goal, obviously this is not at the level of a Last of Us story here I'm talking about, or a Bioshock story. We're trying to keep it very simple, but I want you to keep in mind that the goal eventually will be, once we have these systems in place, to actually apply real, interesting, meaningful story. But the system comes first. So let's talk about an event, a very traditional event here. So we know authoritatively that...
That's a great question. Farrah asked, how much time did you take to develop Emoji Pop? So I've been developing it over the last 18 months, but that's also while during times I'm like working jobs, and so there were times I was working on it, times where I wasn't working on it. Things kind of cropped up, but it's been over 18 months, but I haven't been working straight through those 18 months, So that's kind of how long it took. In the industry, like, it takes them a couple years sometimes to make these kinds of games. So I'm pretty okay with the fact that it's taken me a long time, even though it's a relatively simple kind of game, But I'm a one person team, and I'm doing a lot of stuff for the first time, and like I'm kind of faster than these developers that have like these huge teams, that make the same kind of game, even though theirs are more polished looking. Like I think mine's like a better game, so pretty happy with that, with how fast I'm developing it, even though it is kind of a long time, but I'm hoping it's going to be worth it in the long run. Right now I'm just kind of polishing up everything and fixing the bugs and just making sure everything is steady and finishing integrating social media and everything. And then I want to release it on the app stores. So I'm hoping by the end of this month the game is kind of like done. At least the first version of it, it's never going to be done. And then I'll be able to release it on the app stores and then keep developing it from there. I want to keep adding crazier and crazier features in the game. I'm going to be working on an obstacle pretty soon that allows you to basically turn this bubble shooter into a match 3. So an obstacle that's a candy, and you're going to be able to like tap them, because you can tap stuff and interact with some of these obstacles. And so I want to make it like so you can like do like a match 3 kind of gameplay as well as bubble shooter gameplay all in one. I want to make the ultimate bubble shooter for when it's on the App Store. So that's something. That's one more like new feature that I want to get done before it's out there. There's also a lot of features that I started developing and stopped. So for example, when you're at the end of content, I started making the system that allows you to it generates randomly kind of generated levels based on certain criteria that I specify. So I kind of have this tournament at the end. If you get to the last world and you beat it while you're waiting for new content, you're playing this massive like map with other people and you're competing for these big prizes. But I never really finished that. So there's a lot of little features like that. I was starting to integrate Patreon. So if you were a Patreon member, you get monthly rewards and stuff like that. But all that stuff I kind of stopped working on. So there's a lot of like half-developed stuff that I'm excited to like fully finish once the game's out there and stuff too. But yeah, how long did it take you to make rock paper scissors? Because I mean, I'm not very good at that server stuff, but like that would take me a long time to figure out how to do all that stuff. I'm wondering if it didn't take you too long, or if it did take you a long time to make that game. It seems like really well polished when we played it. I was surprised how smooth it all worked, and how we could play. Like most mobile game developers fake multiplayer, so I was really impressed that you were able to like get it working so well. Four months for web version, 4 months for app version. Cool, that's not bad. That's pretty good. That's impressive. Do you have like more ideas of where to take it? Because it seems like such a well-rounded game already to me. Maybe 2 months for backend server. Gotcha. I could see that being a pain. That's something that's beyond the scope of my abilities. It took me a while to figure out this backend stuff for my game because you create an account, and so you start playing a level, and then you might leave. And so every time you make a move, I have to track that move and delete those bubbles in the database. And also you can save your own levels and share them. So I have to like save everyone's levels in the database and everything like that and update them. So that stuff took me a little while, but not nearly as hard as it is to make like that live multiplayer experience that you made. So as you see, I deleted that purple match, and so I updated it in the database, and then when I load the game again, I fetch all the new bubbles and stuff. These bows and arrows, they turn each move. You hit them and they destroy everything that they're pointing towards. Could use some visual polish, but not my #1 priority right now. So these will destroy that row. And these stars allow you to play mini levels that you can earn bonus moves by playing. Ferris said, I think you took very efficient ways to develop. Cool, thank you. By the efficient ways, I'm guessing you mean like the way I integrated the database and stuff. I'm curious exactly what you think is efficient, but it's really good to hear that you think that. Last move. Clear all the emoji faces. And then we get to win some moves. Did you know Flutter, says Fair? Isn't that a game, Flutter? I developed RPS Play with Flutter. Oh, it's an engine? I do not know that. C++ provides low-level rendering support. It's a development framework. It came to be game changer. Interesting. Cool, so I'm guessing you recommend it cross-platform. So I see that that's like one of the big features. That makes sense. Beautiful native apps in record time. Interesting. I'm using the Cocos.js engine, which is a little bit outdated at this point. Right after I started making the game in Cocos.js, they stopped like supporting it, which was perfect timing. And I was having difficulty like getting it ready for native, so that's why I just decided to focus on the game. And now at the end of this month, I'm gonna switch and just like try desperately to figure out how to get it working on the native on the app stores. Better than React. Cool, okay. I'm gonna look more into this. Oh, you can even do it in your browser. Cool. That's awesome. That seems like something that I could just like pick up and use even for like little multiplayer kind of online prototype things, you know? Not that seems interesting. They kind of give you a lot of tools and stuff, it looks like, visually and otherwise. Better than React. Interesting. Open source. Yeah, I've never heard of this. Here's a tutorial. Layout phase, painting phase. I love using the canvas. I like that architecture, like the hierarchy, like where it gives you just like all the stuff to draw and stuff. Like I use the canvas element, which I'm sure is like used similarly as this on HTML5. That's how I started learning game development. Android uses a canvas system as well. I guess that's just a common thing. I don't know what I'm talking about very well, obviously. I strongly recommend Flutter. Okay. Compositing phase. Rasterizing. Scenes displayed. Okay. Why do you think it's better than React, if you don't mind me asking? I would love to know why. I mean, why do you prefer it over React? Render tree. This is kind of how it all works. Widgets. It has native performance. Okay, makes sense. That's awesome. And that's kind of like the biggest thing that's kind of the biggest downfall of the engine that I chose, is that it's really hard to get things working on native. It's like a cross-platform tool, but there's just always like problems that are cropping up that I don't understand when I'm trying to get it exported for iOS to Android. Ferris said UI I coded are same both Android and iOS. Ah, interesting. I might look into using this sometime, or like learning it a little bit. That's awesome. Yeah, I think the cross-platform, that totally makes sense. Like the native performance of it all, that totally makes sense. So that's a huge appeal. Yeah, so not difficult to learn as far as I think. Sure. Yeah, cool. Like there's the tad bits of code that I'm looking at. I could see that structure being easy to code with. So I'm using Cocos.js. And so that's what I'm just kind of stuck with at this point, since the game is pretty far along. And so I'm hoping at the end of this month I'm going to be able to get it working on app stores. And so I was having trouble before, but I'm hoping, with this awesome community of really experienced developers, maybe they'll see things here and there, and just like maybe they'll be able to point me in different directions or something that allows me to like complete the game or something. I don't know. We'll see. Because I was hoping that I could just get by with maybe even just a web game, since I think it's kind of silly that we have to release our games in the app stores and they take 20% of revenue or whatever it is, 30% of revenue. And even though players could just go to the website and play the game, but it makes sense that like, I don't know, there's like people who search for games on there a lot, so that's good for exposure and stuff, and they might even be able to feature you. So that's the direction I'm headed in right now. Wish I'd heard of Flutter a couple years ago, but I don't like 30% feed too, says Fair. Isn't that ridiculous? That we have to give a third of our revenue to a company that doesn't even always pay its taxes, Not to get political, but like, I think it's ridiculous. That's why I'm kind of behind Fortnite's. I like that they're pushing for other stores to be available on the App Store, because I think that would force the App Store to kind of make more reasonable prices, because but they have platform. So like it'd be like on computers. What if Mac was like, no, Steam is not allowed on our computers because we own the devices, Like that would be insane. But they're able to do that on the app stores. It's a monopoly, I think, by definition. And it kind of stinks too, because Apple doesn't rely on the sales of their apps. They make money by selling iPhones. The app sales are a small fraction of their profits. You know, so people say Apple should be allowed to monopolize the industry because they sell their devices. They compare it to like Xbox. Like that would be like, well, like you're not demanding PlayStation open up a store on Xbox. That would but that's a different case because Microsoft relies, their business model relies on sales of games on their store. So it's not an unfair monopoly. It's just like a necessary business practice. Whereas Apple, they could lower their prices and offer more variety of stores, like allow competitors, and it wouldn't hurt them at all. So I think for that reason they have a monopoly, and the reason that they charge 30% is because they can, because they don't allow anyone else to sell games on their platform. But they allow Steam and Epic Games to sell games on their computers. I don't think that there's any difference. But I'm sure there's like a debate both ways, but that's kind of where I land on it. Now, obviously, I'm biased as an indie game developer. But yeah, I think it's really unfair, and I think it's also bad for consumers. There was Firefox operating system. Do you know? I don't know about that. What's going on with the Firefox? It's the web operating system. Let me look that up. I bought the first Firefox phone. But at this point, like, seems like Android and Apple kind of have a stranglehold on the industry at this point. They stopped developing it. Very sad story. Gotcha. Yeah, at this point it's too late. Have you heard of KaiOS? So KaiOS is an operating system that they make phones, and they're doing well actually. But their phones are a lot less powerful than iPhones and Androids, and they focus on like some of these. It's totally open OS. Oh, interesting. That would have been cool if that succeeded. KaiOS is a booming operating system, especially in countries that aren't as like they make cheaper devices, kind of, so they're kind of developing their own market, you know, and they kind of hand select games for their store. And I was talking with them, but I ended up not releasing my game on their service yet. It's totally open OS, web based. I love that. Oh, the idea of like a web based operating system phone, that's amazing. I had never heard of that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. But now I know that it failed, so it's just a sad story. Oh, so the Firefox OS is actually, they're being run on the KaiOS phones. Do you know about that? I think that's interesting. They failed against Apple and Google, yeah. Google and Apple have a duopoly. They have a stranglehold on the market, but KaiOS is targeting the smaller, the less rich countries and stuff like that, and they're kind of starting to create their own. They're rocketing up, I think, in growth. They're starting to create their own market, basically, and maybe someday they'll be able to compete a little bit with Google at least, maybe. And it looks like they've partnered with the Firefox OS. Mozilla will officially start supporting KaiOS now. So like KaiOS might be something that mobile indie devs could look into. They're always looking for like new games and stuff. I've talked to some representative of them like a while ago. KaiOS, yeah. So as I said, it is an operating system. They're a company that makes phones, and they focus more on the lower end devices. And they're actually kind of making a killing. And they've partnered with the Firefox OS people, so they run Firefox OS on their phones, I guess. I would look into this. It could be another market for indie developers. They make money mostly with their own ad service, basically, which they sign up games for their service made often by indies, and they They split the ad revenue. As I said, they are very low performing devices, and they run in. They're meant to run without very good internet connection in some of these less rich countries. So it's a very specific problem for them to tackle. So they have to have like an advertise like they have their own ads system instead of using Google's, because they don't have like the performance on their phones to run the Google ads with the lack of internet and other stuff like that. So it's like an interesting business model, I think, and it could be another platform on which to release our games. I'm not sure if it would work for rock paper scissors though, since that's like an online kind of game, but maybe it would be worth looking into. Because they have such a smaller store of hand selected games, like they kind of, you're able to be more surfaceable and featured, and there's like millions of devices out there now, and they're growing at a good rate, so it might be a good market to get a head start in, kind of. This is their website. Internet for everyone. KaiOS brings the best of smartphones to affordable devices. So they're not going for those high-end devices like Apple. They're trying to kind of focus on a smaller part of the market. Devices more people can afford. Dozens and dozens of models worldwide starting at just $10. It's not competitive, as I see. It's not competitive in the richer countries. It's competitive in the less rich countries. So I think they're exploding in India, for example. Although the people that have these devices, they don't have as much money to spend on in-game apps, in-game boosters and stuff like that, but there's a lot of those devices out there, and so and the store is a lot smaller. They hand select the store, so you can get featured on there and get millions of people playing your game and watching your ads and stuff like that, and you can probably make some money. And they're not competing in the U.S. market or anything like that. They're competing in other countries that don't have as much of a internet infrastructure, that aren't as well off financially. They're much cheaper phones. Like, as they said, the cheapest model is just $10. Let's look at KaiOS devices growth. KaiOS growth is being largely attributed to the popularity of the competitively priced geophone. In 2018, 23 million KaiOS devices were shipped. In just 3 months in 2018, 23 million devices were shipped. In March 2020, Mozilla and KaiOS announced a partnership. So the Firefox OS that you talked about, they're investing into the KaiOS technology. They announced a partnership to update KaiOS with a modern version of the Gecko browser engine and more aligned testing infrastructure. I think they are competitive, like in their own way. They're not competing with Apple directly, you know. They're trying to. Apple's only going for the rich people, you know. There's a lot fewer rich people than there are poor people in this world, you know. And so I think it's competitive in its own way. In May 2019, KaiOS raised $50 million. They hit 100 million handsets. So I do think that they're a contender in this market, and I think that they're continuing to grow. But I'd be curious to know why you don't think that they're competitive, or because I could be wrong. I'm not an expert at this stuff. And I think the best way to make money on these games is through advertisements, not through the in-app purchases. Since the people who have these phones, they buy them for cheap. They're not going to be willing to spend money on in-game boosters. So it could be a great place to, like, you could release an apps on iOS and Android, but then you can make a KaiOS version pretty easily that's focused on getting people to watch ads and stuff. KaiOS is doing well in India, but it's pulling some big numbers in US too. This was last year. KaiOS going where Android Go can't. It seems like comparisons between KaiOS and Android Go are inevitable, as Google attempts to bring Android to low-end smartphones. But what does the executive make of KaiOS's advantages and disadvantages? Blah blah blah. Google plowed $22 million into the company last year. Bang elaborated on the impact. Google realized that, I think after launching in India, Google realized that KaiOS really can be a tool to get to the next billion users. So Google is investing in KaiOS. So Google thinks that KaiOS has an edge in certain places in the market. The investment, the PR, and all the buzz came with it actually really accelerated what they were already doing. KaiOS's success can also be chalked up to its relaxed system requirements, enabling phones that are cheaper than the current Android phones. They allow us to keep costs down on the devices. I don't believe it's this fair. We don't manufacture hardware, just marketing, I think. Oh no, Google investing millions of dollars into KaiOS is not marketing. We license KaiOS for free. Selling millions of devices in India is not marketing. They're beating Google in India because their phones are much cheaper. They can't forgive Play Store. We license KaiOS for free to anyone that wants to develop for it, and we've seen that allows the OEMs to actually produce very, very cost-conscious devices. We're talking about LTE under $30. We're talking 3G devices under $20. KaiOS has an Android base with Java and HTML5 technologies on top of that. Does that mean we could see Android apps on the Smart Feature OS? No. Again, the number one advantage of the number one vision of KaiOS from day one was to be lean and to work with very small hardware. Once you start adding Android type of experience, it defeats the purpose. They can't give up Play Store. But the problem is that most people can't afford Android phones. So they can't, like in India, there's how many millions and millions of people in India, like over 1 billion, right? Most of those people in India, they can't afford the Android devices. They can afford the KaiOS devices. And so that's why Android has bowed down to KaiOS and is now investing in them heavily, millions and millions of dollars. The platform gained more Google-related features this week. And so Google was holding out on the KaiOS devices. The price does make sense, yes. So in terms of eyeballs, KaiOS is going to win in some markets because they're so much cheaper than Android. So if you're a game that makes money off of ads and eyeballs, this could be a great way to... And because the store is a lot smaller and they hand select games on the store, I was talking to them about getting my game on the store, but I just wasn't ready to release yet. I think I might hit them up later on. But you can get your game in front of hundreds of millions of people, and because the store is so catered and everything, it could be a really great opportunity for some games. And this is androidauthority.com. KaiOS is doing well in India, but pulling big numbers in US too. So the Google Play Store is great, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the money to access it. Let me look for like a more recent article. Okay, when was this written? This is 2018, about them investing. That's an old article. Let's go to KaiOS. Google maybe wants to embed searching engine. But they were holding out because they thought that they could beat KaiOS in India. So that's why for a long time they were withholding. But now they realize, oh, Android devices are not going to permeate society in India like we thought they were. So now they're like, okay, yeah, let's get our stuff on the KaiOS devices and let's invest money in them. Because now that they know they're gonna lose their, you're right, they want to be on those devices, their search engines and stuff like that. And that's why Mozilla, like the Firefox OS system, that's why they failed to defeat Google and Apple, and that's why they're partnering with the KaiOS in order to make their own Firefox kind of phones, but through the KaiOS hardware. This is called Africell. KaiOS brings 4G to Uganda, and they allows them to use WhatsApp, YouTube, Google Assistant, Google Maps, Facebook. This is launching in Vietnam. Mexico. This one's for Kenya. Malawi. So yeah, just an interesting to look into. If you look at like how many devices they're selling, they're experiencing rapid growth. I just can't find that chart anymore. This person said, I spent a week with a $17 KaiOS phone. Here's what I learned. KaiOS has quietly become a global powerhouse in the mobile industry, bridging the gaps between feature phones and smartphones. The so-called smart feature platform is designed for phones with a physical keypad and more modest specs than even the cheaper Android Go devices. It's the second most popular mobile phone in India. KaiOS has since made its way to the Nokia 4G prepaid feature phones in North America and now Africa. How does KaiOS phone hold up compared to Android smartphone? I was given a $17 handset that's just launched in Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, and several other African markets. I decided to use it as my primary communication device for a week, and here's how it went. So the specs aren't impressive. Anyway, I don't bet KaiOS is not competitive yet. How can you say it's not competitive when it's the second most popular device in the largest country in the world, the second largest country in the world? To me, that's competitive. They're not going to compete with Apple in America, but they're going to get a lot more eyeballs than Apple because most people can't afford iPhones in the world. There are several other notable specs here, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. And it's offering WhatsApp, YouTube, Google Assistant, Google Maps, all for $17. So for people that need Messenger and stuff like that, this is the device they're gonna get. Maybe the performance does matter. The performance would be nice on Android phones, but most people in the world can't afford those. They'd much rather spend $17 on this phone and get all these same features. But feel free to correct me on what you mean by performance matters. Price matters more than anything, you know? If it was just about performance, everyone would just be buying iPhones. Google's trio of apps, quite impressive. It's a web app that gives you access, blah, blah, blah. Okay. There are two major downsides to using Google Maps on KaiOS: the time it takes to get a lock on your location and the inability to download maps to your micro SD card. The former is really frustrating. It takes minutes rather than seconds to get a fix on your location. The latter is pretty disappointing, especially in regions where mobile data remains prohibitively expensive. The most impressive app is Google Assistant. Blah, blah, blah. It's still not a smartphone. So this kind of probably has to do with like what you're saying about performance. Yeah, Google just wants to spread their services. They wanted to dominate India with their phones as well, but they failed because their phones are too expensive. But so now that they've lost that battle and they think they're going to lose that battle, it makes sense that they want to spread their services. The biggest casualty is multitasking. It's not there. Another feature missing is system-wide copy-paste functionality. Web browsers a disappointment. It lacks tabbed browsing. But all this stuff, I don't think people care. You know, they just want to be able to use a phone for messaging and stuff. So this is going to be the go-to device for literally billions of people. This is going to be their device. And so although these people aren't as rich and they aren't going to be spending money in their games, you're going to have billions of eyeballs on your games, potentially. It's got a fragmented app store. Fast charging is not available. Reduced specs. Lag. So yeah, there's a lot of downsides to the performance, but that's not going to stop people from buying this phone. It's one of the more frustrating phones I've ever used. Between excruciating slow typing experience, disappearing messages on WhatsApp, frequent RAM shortage alerts, and this is a $17 phone. This is like one of their lower tier phones, by the way. With feature phones in the market coming in at $10 or $14, the cheapest starting around $28. The cheapest smartphone is $28. Feature phones are $10 to $14. So KaiOS at $17, which allows for some of this kind of smartphone functionality. It's a pretty compelling price point, I think, for many parts of the world besides the United States and Europe. More affluent readers might ask why consumers wouldn't just add $10 extra to get a smartphone. The truth is there are scores of feature phone toting consumers in emerging markets that simply can't afford $10 more. In markets where $10 means the difference between eating for the week and not, a $17 phone with WhatsApp and other smart features might be a game changer. So this is why it's competitive. In markets where $10 extra can mean the difference between eating for the week and not, so this is why we don't understand that, is because that extra $10 that they're saving, that's food for a week, you know? So that's why the $17 price point that enables you to use YouTube and WhatsApp and Google Maps, even though it's kind of a crappy experience, that $10 price, like being half the price as those smartphones, is a great price point, and that's why they're going to sell billions of devices. The price also means those on the hunt for a burner phone will have this, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's why I think that they're competitive. That's the price point, and they're just gonna keep getting better and better. You know, they're gonna find ways to make their devices work better and better as the longer they grow and the more money that they fundraise and stuff. I wish I could find like how many they've sold. What's up, Kessels? Welcome back. I'm gonna be stopping the stream pretty soon because, as I said, I have an appointment. I have to leave at noon. Thank y'all for following the stream. Thanks for that awesome conversation fair about KaiOS, etc. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. Most people haven't heard of KaiOS, but they are blowing up in Africa. They're blowing up in India, which is a very important market. And so it's gonna be interesting to see if they continue to succeed, because Google and Apple, they've already kind of recognized that they're not going to compete for the universal device in India. It looks like KaiOS is going to win that battle, especially in Africa, and other parts of the world as well. So yeah, what time is it? It's 11:46 here. I got another 15 minutes. Does anyone want to talk about anything? Kessel, is anything you want to talk about or anything like that? Gotta leave pretty soon here. We were just talking about KaiOS. I wish I knew how many devices they'd sold. It's based in Hong Kong. Open source community driven fork of Firefox OS, which was discontinued in 2016, and that's what Fair mentioned. They support HTML5 based apps. In 2020, there were 500 plus apps. So if you get your game on the App Store in the KaiOS store, that's an amazing opportunity, because there's very few apps. And so I was pitching my bubble shooter onto the KaiOS store, and they wanted me to put it on there. It's just that I ended up deciding not to, because I wanted to work on the game for a while longer. But they're looking for games, and so if you can get on there, like millions and millions and millions and millions of people are going to be surfaced your game, so that's a great opportunity. In market share study released in 2018, KaiOS beat Apple's iOS for second place in India, while Android dominates with 71%, all but down by 9%. And this is in 2018. And so KaiOS is going up, 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 up. KaiOS growth is being largely attributed to the popularity of competitively priced Geophone. In 2018, 23 million of KaiOS devices were shipped in just those 3 months. They announced the partnership with Mozilla in 2020 in March. The change should give KaiOS 4 years worth of performance and security improvements and new features. These are the devices, the release history, not much on it. But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. India, mobile phone, market share. Oh, that's 2014. This is 2014 as well. Mobile brand. I don't even know these brands. Oh, China phones. Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, so obviously I know very little about the mobile market. Fair probably knows more than me, and so does Kessel's. But just an interesting observation about KaiOS and stuff. I love that they're web-based. Like, you pointed out you loved the Mozilla OS. That's why I pointed out the Firefox OS. That's why I pointed out KaiOS, because I think they're similar, and they've even entered a partnership recently. So it's easy for me, since my game inherently is a web app. It'd be really easy for me to put my game up there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end up going now. We've been streaming for 3 hours. Normally I stream all the way till 3 o'clock. But today I gotta cut it short a few hours. I'm gonna be back online later tonight around like 9 p.m. because I want to see, like, Fair had a suggestion of like I want to see how a night stream does, because Fair lives in a part of the world, I think in Korea, where we're on opposite time zones basically, and so we want to see if I just want to see if I can get people into the stream at that time, you know, if there's people in the community that it's better for, etc. So that's gonna be kind of our experiment later tonight. So feel free to join us. It's gonna be a weird stream since it's late at night. It might be a little bit loopy. It might be fun. But thank you, Fair, for participating in this conversation. It was fun learning from you about Flutter. I'm gonna look into Flutter more. Thanks to Guy Corp Games for coming by. I'm really excited to play your game Merge RPG on Monday. Thanks for Fair for coming back. Really appreciate all the support. I'm really excited about the Discord changes we've made, so that let me know if you want to have a channel for your game, and we will definitely add you. And I'm hoping we can all share the Discord, etc., and get people into this mobile game incubator, and we can all help each other out. Basically, that's what all this community is about, and the stream is about. So thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll see you later. Peace out.